Chapter 420. Lin Tian possessed the yin-yang lotus sea phenomenon, which was the nemesis of all spirit bodies. He could also sense the existence of all spirit bodies and evil spirits. The moment he entered this space, he had already sensed the evil spirits sealed within the stone pillars. No pop-up window? 1. However, these evil spirits were sealed inside, and the stone pillar was equivalent to a seal. As long as no one destroyed or stimulated it, the evil corpses inside would not be able to come out. Therefore, although he discovered this point, he did not say much and did not care. He directly walked forward, but he did not expect that the people behind him would directly break the stone pillar and release the things inside. Ah! Miserable cries reverberated through this spacious great hall. More cultivators met with misfortune, cut in half by the sea beast that fell out from the stone pillars. This sea beast was shaped like a human body. Its head was like a coral, and part of it was rotten. The intact parts were pale white. It's much more terrifying than a vengeful ghost. Bai Qiu shrunk his neck. The sea beast fell out of the stone pillars. It was like a grim reaper that had walked out of hell. Its eyes were pitch black and empty, and it started a massacre. The cultivators were terrified, and screams could be heard from time to time. "It's coming toward us," Bai Qiu said. The sea beast twisted its body and walked over. It appeared in front of Lin Tian. The king's saber in its hand was mottled with rust, and it slashed down with a cold light. With a clang, the space was torn apart. "It's comparable to an immortal," Lin Tian whispered. He raised his right hand and slapped the king's saber. There was a crisp clang. Then, with a buzzing sound, he propped up the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. The dense yin-yang twin lotuses condensed into a 4-foot-long sword, slashing at the head of the sea beast yin corpse, firmly landing on its neck. After being hit by the yin-yang lotus sword, the sea beast howled in pain and was sent flying. However, the next moment it stood up again. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. "How is that possible? Your sea of consciousness is specialized in restraining these evil spirits. It didn't cause any substantial damage to it." However, Lin Tian didn't seem to mind. "I've already said that we'll kill all that we can. It'll take a lot of effort to kill those that we can't." The sea beast yin corpse roared. Wisps of green smoke rose from its neck that had been cut by the lotus sword, and its hollow eyes became even darker. It rushed toward Lin Tian again, and a terrifying yin qi spread out from its body and eyes. This yin qi was pitch black and as dense as ink. It looked extremely horrifying. Lin Tian retreated, his right hand blocking the sea beast yin corpse's king blade, his lotus sword once again slashing at the opponent. His knowledge sea was the most effective method to deal with these yin evil spirits, but after this sword strike, the sea beast yin corpse still didn't suffer any substantial damage. Only its screams became even more terrifying. When he was alive, he was already at the immortal connecting realm. After he died, he turned into a yin corpse and was close to becoming a ghost king. Lin Tian frowned. Ghosts were comparable to airborne realm powerhouses, and ghost kings were comparable to immortal connecting realm powerhouses. Moreover, they were far more powerful than ordinary immortal connecting realm powerhouses. He had read an ancient book before. It was recorded that a ghost king had appeared in an ancient tomb of a Wu-Jin realm cultivator. It had killed 18 fifth heaven of the immortal ascension realm cultivators, leaving only one alive. The immortal ascension realm cultivator who had escaped had his heart attacked by corpse poison after recording what had happened in the tomb. He did not survive. Although this sea beast yin corpse hadn't reached the level of a ghost king, it was close. Clang! The lotus sword moved again and landed on the sea beast yin corpse's chest, sending it flying 7 feet away. The sea beast yin corpse howled miserably. However, it stood up straight again. Its pitch-black pupils became even more terrifying. "It can't be killed? Even that madman can't do anything." Many people's hearts palpitated. At this moment, a cracking sound came from within the hall. Around them, the surface of some stone pillars began to fall off automatically, stained with blood. Instantly, everyone's expression changed. One sea beast yin corpse was already difficult for them to deal with. Now that the stone pillars were peeling off, it seemed that something else was about to come out. Crack! 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 A series of crisp sounds were heard. Soon, Maureen corpses walked out of dozens of stone pillars one after another. There were headless humanoid knights, three-headed and six-armed ocean demons, the evil infant with a head as large as a basket, and some other terrifying creatures of the ocean. All of them exuded a thick aura of death and surrounded the cultivators in the center. Bai Qiu opened his mouth and muttered, "This is bad. They're all, it's over." A reading book? 1. K. A reading in? S. H. You reading C? C? Many people's faces turned pale. Just one sea beast corpse jumped out, and none of them could deal with it. Now that so many corpses walked out, it was simply a disaster. At this moment, they were surrounded in the middle, and there was no doubt that they would die. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of swords rang out. The black and white lotus petals fluttered, sweeping a few corpses away and opening a gap. "Everyone leave this place." Lin Tiandao. Many cultivators were shocked. When they saw Lin Tian opening a gap, they were overjoyed. "Fellow cultivator Lin, be careful." Following this gap, all the cultivators moved and ran out in the blink of an eye, fleeing into the depths. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Tian and Bai Qiu were left. "I didn't expect you to be so kind. You're blocking here and letting the others leave. Is this considered sacrificing yourself for others?" Bai Qiu teased. Lin Tian glanced at her and sent the headless horseman flying with a kick. "There are too many people standing here, so it's not easy to use some of my skills," he said. With a buzz, the yin-yang lotus sea rushed out from behind him. He waved his hands repeatedly, and the entire lotus sea swayed. For a moment, the sky was filled with black and white lotus petals, covering the entire hall. So many! Bai Qiu was surprised. It was the first time she saw Lin Tian display so many lotus petals. "Stand here and don't move." Lin Tiandao. As soon as he finished speaking, his feet swayed and rushed out. The yin-yang lotus petals floated around densely, forming a lotus petal cage, trapping the dozens of corpses inside. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the sea beast corpse. He grabbed the king's saber with his right hand and slammed his left elbow into the corpse's chest. With a bang, the corpse was sent flying dozens of feet away and fell to the side. Although there's a lot of rust, it's comparable to an ordinary high-grade supreme treasure. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He waved his right hand and imprinted his divine sense on the king's saber. Then, he put it into the stone ring. His weapon-controlling technique had reached a certain level, and now he needed a lot of precious weapons. Once he had enough precious weapons, his combat power would be greatly improved. Thinking about it, the scene of more than 100 high-grade supreme treasures together would definitely be terrifying. In the distance, Bai Qiu's eyes widened when she saw this scene. This guy is even robbing the dead. In the field, Lin Tian was extremely fast. He appeared in front of the headless horseman and attacked with the lotus petals, snatching the spear in his hand. Like the long saber, the spear was mottled with rust, but it was still more powerful than an ordinary high-grade supreme treasure. Bang! 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 He appeared beside the corpses one by one. His fists, palms, sword fingers, and elbows kept falling on these corpses. He sent more than a dozen corpses flying and took all the weapons in their hands. Among them, he took a single-edged long saber from a human-shaped sea monster, which was comparable to a quasi-immortal weapon, which was very shocking. The corpses roared fiercely, and the Shi rolled like black clouds. At this time, Lin Tian took all the weapons, a total of 13 of which were high-grade supreme treasures and one quasi-immortal weapon. In fact, when these weapons were intact, at least half of them were immortal weapons. However, they had been sealed in the stone pillars for too long and lost much of their spirituality, so they were not as powerful as before. Clang! 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 The sound of swords rang out, and the dense lotus petals turned into sword blades, slashing down crazily like a rain of black and white swords. In the blink of an eye, Dozens of breaths passed. There was no smoke in the hall. All the Een corpses had fallen, and their bodies were fragmented, then scattered like sand. Didn't you say it's difficult to kill them? Bai Qiu stared straight ahead. Difficult to kill doesn't mean they can't be killed. Lin Tiandao. Earlier, he'd already activated the Yin Yang Lotus Ocean to the limit, and during the process of seizing their weapons, he'd secretly injected the energy of the four-symbol seal every single time he struck the corpses of these Yin corpses. This was to solidify the Yin energy within their bodies and cause their various abilities to be greatly reduced before finally killing them with his full strength. He activated the Yin Yang Lotus Sea to the extreme, and it was difficult for him to condense all the swords, so he could only attack with the dense lotus petals. He couldn't control it very well, so he asked the other cultivators to leave because he was worried that they would accidentally hurt others. He tilted his head and stared at the other stone pillars. There were about 100 stone pillars, and it seemed that there was a living being sealed in each of them. Bai Qiu followed his gaze, and after a while, he said, "The ancient king of the sea region was very domineering. In order to unify the sea region, his ferocious aura spread everywhere. Anyone in the sea region who refused to submit was suppressed in the end, and then all disappeared. Now it seems that the disappeared experts of the sea region are all sealed in these stone pillars." So bloody? Lin Tian frowned. Otherwise, why do you think the Sea King's palace collapsed after the death of the ancient king of the sea region? It's because the ancient king killed too many people, and he used death to force the experts of the sea region to submit. In this way, the loyalty of those experts of the sea region is obvious. Once the ancient king died, they naturally returned to their homes. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded in understanding. Looking at the stone pillars, he rubbed his chin and said, "It's quite pitiful. I'll help them free themselves. You just want to steal their weapons. Why are you making it sound so dignified?" Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian was speechless. He coughed dryly and moved. He used his sword light to break the stone pillars one by one, releasing all the living beings sealed in them. Then he activated the Yin Yang Lotus Sea to the extreme and used the same method to kill the Yin corpses one after another, seizing all the weapons in their hands. There were a total of 93 weapons. Among them, there were pseudo-immortal weapons from the three sects, and the rest were superior-grade supreme treasures. Not bad, continue. He was slightly satisfied. There were still 13 stone pillars left in the hall. He waved his sword light and destroyed them one by one. Just as he broke through the last stone pillar, an extremely terrifying wave of Yin Qi swept out, as if the gates of hell had been opened. A figure covered in black armor walked out. It was like the source of death, and its eyes were blood red. Lin Tian's expression changed. He quickly retreated, and the hair on his back stood on end. A ghost king has been dug out. He cursed softly. Chapter 421. The figure that walked out of the last stone pillar was tall and sturdy. Its entire body was covered in black armor. Only its eyes were exceptionally red, as if they had been watered with blood. The aura of death it emitted was like the surging sea. Full text reading a book? 1. CC, look at what you've done. Bai Qiu glared at him. Lin Tian sweated and pulled Bai Qiu back. The figure that walked out of the last stone pillar was too terrifying. It had definitely reached the level of a ghost king. It was very terrifying. Lin Tian was very fast, and Bai Qiu was not slow either. In the blink of an eye, they had rushed 10 feet away. At this moment, a terrifying Yin Qi came from behind. It was like a wave crashing over, causing the two of them to tremble. The ghost king that walked out charged over and caught up with the two of them in the blink of an eye. Use the immortal artifact to suppress your Yin origin. Don't let out a trace of its aura. Lin Tian transmitted his voice to Bai Qiu. With a thought, the Yin Yang Lotus Sea appeared and turned into a lotus shield, facing the ghost king behind him. The ghost king was blocked. After colliding with the Yin Yang twin lotus sea, green smoke rose, and the black armor kept ringing. It let out a vicious roar, and the ghostly aura surged. A dozen other Yin corpses that fell from the stone pillar rushed forward crazily. Chi, chi, chi. These Yin corpses used their own bodies as weapons and forcefully knocked away the yin-yang lotus shield that Lin Tian had cast. Bai Qiu glanced back and immediately shrank his neck. It's coming. A dozen ordinary Yin corpses broke through Lin Tian's yin-yang lotus shield. The Ghost King took a step forward and instantly moved 10 feet away. Lin Tian cursed. This creature covered in black armor should have reached the peak of the immortal realm when it was alive. He did not expect that it would be sealed in the stone pillar. The only thing he was glad about now was that he had asked Bai Qiu to seal his Yin origin from the beginning. Otherwise, this Ghost King would definitely go crazy now. They would not even have a chance to escape. He condensed the four symbols Dao diagram and threw it behind him, stopping the Ghost King from approaching. The Ghost King roared and shattered the four symbols Dao diagram on the spot. Want? Read a book? Want? K. Shu, Lin Tian's Yin energy surged violently, and he hurled a palm strike behind him, only to feel as if his body had been rammed by a mountain. When facing such a terrifying Ghost King, even if he possessed the phenomenon within his sea of consciousness that specialized in restraining evil spirits, and even if he possessed a mid-grade immortal artifact, he still didn't dare go head-on against it at this moment. It was truly too terrifying, and if he were to really go head-on against it, then there was an 80% chance that he would end up perishing. Now, fleeing was the best choice. How are you? Bai Qiu asked. I'm fine. Lin Tian shook his head. Behind him, the Ghost King and a dozen Yin corpses also charged forward, as if they were carrying a sea of death with them. Lin Tian once again slashed out with his lotus sword, his speed becoming even faster. In the blink of an eye, he stepped out of the palace. Along the way, he passed by many forks, and then the palace path led straight ahead. Boom! Demonic chi flowed in front of them, spreading from afar. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed, and he quickened his pace. Not long after, he saw a sturdy figure. It was the desolate demon body Pitsong. Human. The desolate demon body tilted its head. When it saw Lin Tian rushing over, two rays of cold light instantly appeared in its eyes. The Sea King's palace was connected in all directions, and there were many forks. Pitsong had entered from another entrance, and now he was here, destroying a stone door in front of him. This stone door was blocking his path. There were other cultivators around him, all of whom had retreated far away, carefully staring at the desolate demon body. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Lin Tian stared at the desolate demon body, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Damn bird, I brought you a big gift. As he spoke, he directly rushed toward the desolate demon body. Take your head. The desolate demon body's eyes were cold. It abandoned the stone door and used the great god-slaying palm to slap Lin Tian. Lin Tian rushed forward, and when the great god-slaying palm fell, he suddenly moved 3 feet away, dodging the attack. 1. Reading 1. K wants it. S reads H. U. C. C at the same time. A wave of Yin Chi surged from behind him like a mountain flood. The Ghost King, covered in black armor, rushed at the front, riding a black cloud. Its pair of blood-red eyes were frightening. Beside it, there were a dozen Yin corpses of different shapes and sizes. Their bodies were rotten, and the tallest one was about 10 feet tall. The aura around their bodies was very shocking. That is, the evil corpses and Yin spirits in the main hall. Oh no! Among the cultivators here, there were some who had escaped from the main hall. When they saw these dead things, their expressions changed greatly. The desolate demon body was also moved, but it didn't withdraw the great god-slaying palm. It directly slapped forward. Things that are already dead don't come out again. Scram for this king. The great god-slaying palm was a powerful inherited secret technique of the heavenly demon mountain. It was used by the desolate demon king body at the fourth heaven of the Zephyr realm. Its power couldn't be described as not terrifying. It covered the black-armored Ghost King and a dozen Yin corpses that rushed over. Roar! The Ghost King roared. Its Yin Chi was dense as it directly shattered the great god-slaying palm. With a pung sound, the desolate demon body was sent flying. It slammed into a stone door not far away and spat out a mouthful of blood. "How does it feel?" Lin Tian laughed. The desolate demon body stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of its mouth. It angrily stared at Lin Tian. "You tricked this little king? The one who tricked you is you. You want to bite me?" Lin Tian disdained it. He and Bai Qiu stood together. Although they were cursing at the desolate demon body, most of their attention was focused on the Ghost King. The desolate demon body was the same, carefully staring forward. "Hong!" The Ghost King roared. A dozen corpses followed and charged forward. This place was also empty. The difference was that there weren't any stone pillars like the main hall from before. There was only a stone door in front of them, blocking the way. At this time, a dozen corpses rushed in. It was like a death god from hell had rushed in. All the cultivators' faces turned pale, and there were pitiful screams. Qi surged as corpses rushed at Lin Tian. With a buzzing sound, Lin Tian flicked his finger. The black and white lotus condensed into a sword and slashed forward. A scream rang out. The corpse that rushed over was sent flying on the spot. Green smoke rose from its body. "Hong!" Demonic chi surged. The desolate demon body was unlucky to be targeted by the Ghost King. Lin Tian kicked away a corpse that rushed in front of him. After seeing this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. The Ghost King was very strong. It forced the desolate demon body to retreat again and again. It was injured several times. In just a dozen breaths, the desolate demon body felt the terror of this Ghost King. With a loud roar, it took out a mid-grade immortal artifact and smashed it forward. The Ghost King waved its hand. With a bang, it blocked the desolate demon body's mid-grade immortal artifact. Lin Tian saw this scene and secretly felt his heart palpitate. This Ghost King was really terrifying. A mid-grade immortal artifact couldn't hurt it at all. Bai Qiu leaned to the side and slapped out with the godless palm, sending a corpse flying. He transmitted his voice. "While the Ghost King is staring at the desolate demon body, we'll break open the stone door and go deeper. I've seen it in ancient books. In the past, the ancient king of the sea area had a water-stilling pearl. Wearing it not only increased one's cultivation speed, but also allowed one to control thousands of water sources at will. The reason why the ancient king was able to enter the great virtue realm was most likely because of this water-stilling pearl. If we can get it, there will be no problem for us to roam the sea area. Ordinary experts at the peak of the immortal ascension realm will find it difficult to stop us. Moreover, it's said that when a woman wears a water-stilling pearl, she can retain her beauty forever. Even if she dies, she won't age at all." Lin Tian was a little moved by Bai Qiu's words, but when he heard the last sentence, he suddenly felt that the meaning had changed. "You're here to retain your beauty forever?" He twitched the corner of his mouth. "No, you're thinking too much. I'm here to help you find a weapon. The water-stilling pearl is just a side goal." Bai Qiu shook his head. "Is that so?" Lin Tian didn't believe him. He casually slapped a nearby corpse away. Bai Qiu kicked another sea beast evil spirit away and said with a serious face, "Look at my pure eyes. You should believe me. I believe your whole family." Lin Tian curled his lips. Even so, he had to admit that coming to the Sea King's palace with Bai Qiu had given him a great harvest. He had obtained several quasi-immortal weapons and dozens of high-grade supreme treasures. In addition to the supreme treasures in his original stone ring, he had gathered a total of 108 precious weapons. As a result, his combat strength had increased by a large margin. A longbow appeared in his hand. He took out a few pure gold arrows and aimed at the stone door in front of him and released them. These arrows each weighed more than 10 kilograms. Coupled with his current physical strength, they instantly flew out like golden lightning. They almost pierced through space and landed heavily on the stone door in front of him, shaking the entire space. Crack! A crisp sound came from the stone door, and cracks appeared on it. Bai Qiu protected Lin Tian and sent a few corpses flying. He was slightly surprised. This stone door is so sturdy? She knew very well how amazing Lin Tian's physical strength was. After hearing about Lin Tian, she knew that the bow in his hand was not simple. But now, after a few arrows, the stone door in front of them didn't collapse. Of course it's sturdy, Lin Tiandao said. Otherwise, the desolate demon body of Mount Tianyao would have broken it. Bai Qiu stood to the side. He wasn't worried about anything. He took out another pure gold arrow and aimed at the stone door. The golden arrows fell on the stone door, making thumping sounds. It wasn't until he shot the 42nd golden arrow that the stone door collapsed with a boom, splashing sand and dust into the air. Boom! Billows of Yin Qi rushed out from behind the stone door. A dense crowd of Yin soldiers rushed out, rolling up black clouds. Such a scene caused many people to tremble. There were simply too many Yin soldiers and malicious ghosts. Of course, many cultivators didn't have the time to care about these Yin soldiers at this moment. This was because the dozen Yin corpses rushing out from the hall in front of them were too terrifying. They were even stronger than the ghosts. Even an ordinary early-stage Zephyr realm expert would find it difficult to resist them. There are so many Yin spirits, as expected of the ancient tomb of a great Tao realm existence. Bai Qiu was shocked. Ignore them. Follow behind me. Lin Tiandao. He rushed forward, using the yin-yang lotus sea to open a path, shattering all the yin spirits in front of him. After stepping through the stone door, he rushed into the depths. Ah! A scream sounded behind him. Someone was killed by the yin corpses, their neck bitten off. Lin Tian turned his head by chance. When he saw the corpse lying on the ground, he immediately frowned. He saw the blood of the corpse disappear into the ground along the surface, instantly disappearing without a trace. Chapter 422. Lin Tian frowned as he watched the corpse's blood seep into the ground as if something was sucking it in. Full text 1? Reading? 1? CC, what's wrong? Let's go, they're coming. Bai Qiu urged. Boom! Yin light and demonic aura intertwined. The Ghost King roared, and the desolate demon physique was pushed back. Even the immortal artifact couldn't stop it. Lin Tian didn't have time to think. He turned his head and stepped into the stone door. The space behind the stone door was even larger. The screams of ghosts could be heard. Densely packed, ghost soldiers rushed past like millions of horses galloping. The momentum was a little shocking. Clang! Lin Tian moved his mind. The yin-yang lotus sea was supported, and the dense lotus petals slashed forward. There were a lot of yin soldiers charging at them, but none of them could stop the yin-yang lotus sea, and they all crumbled. Lin Tian pulled Bai Qiu. The yin-yang lotus flashed and rushed forward. Behind them, the Ghost King rushed past. The desolate demon physique was forced into a sorry state. He followed behind Lin Tian and Bai Qiu, rushing into the depths together. A giant bone immortal artifact floated above his head. The desolate demon physique stared at Lin Tian coldly. Stare at me? Lin Tianling smiled. A treasure sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed behind him. With a clang, the fiery sword radiance bloomed and divided into 18 beams, slashing toward the desolate demon physique. Human! The desolate demon physique roared, his eyes full of killing intent. Because of Lin Tian's sword radiance, he had to block it. And because of this, his speed slowed down. The Ghost King behind him immediately closed the distance, and the Ghost King rushed toward him. With a bang, the desolate demon physique was sent flying and crashed into a wall. Lin Tian glanced back and moved faster. Soon he crossed hundreds of feet. The space in front gradually became wider. Lin Tian stepped on the yin-yang lotus, and the hall retreated. After dozens of breaths, they entered a place like an immortal garden. Want to see? Book 1 Ka? As far as the eye could see, grass and trees were everywhere, and there was an extremely dense spiritual energy floating in the air. It was completely different from the situation in front of the main hall. Another world? Lin Tian muttered. This place is called a tomb, but it's actually the palace of that ancient king of the sea region. It's naturally huge. Let's run deeper, Bai Qiu said. There was a rumbling sound behind him, and a surge of icy cold yin energy surged towards him. Lin Tian didn't need to think to know that the Ghost King and the dozen corpses had caught up. He pulled Bai Chio deeper into the forest. His speed was extremely fast, and very soon he had traveled another 3,000 feet. There was a small pavilion in front of him with a small booklet in it. Lin Tian immediately felt the fluctuation of Dan Qi. He pulled Bai Chioing over and quickly skimmed through the booklet. He found that the booklet recorded a lot of knowledge on concocting pills, all of which were related to the life-prolonging Baodan. The ancient book says that the ancient king of the sea region only dabbled in the Tao of alchemy because his lifespan was about to dry up. It seems that this is not wrong. From this booklet, it can be seen that it is all about the refining methods and experience of the life-continuing pill. Bai Chio said. Lin Tian nodded and put away the booklet. This booklet recorded the refining experience of the life-continuing pill. Perhaps that ancient king of the sea region did not refine the life-continuing pill, but these experiences were still useful to him, because in the near future he might be worried about his lifespan and would refine the life-prolonging Baodan. At that time, these experiences would be very useful to him. His eyes swept over and fell into the distance. There were several old trees 100 feet away. There was a faint glow behind the old trees. Lin Tian flashed past and arrived in front of them. This is... Bai Chio stared. Behind the old trees was a large medicine garden. There were all kinds of precious herbs growing inside, all of them growing very well. 500-year-old He Wu, 600-year-old Wind Qilin leaf, and 2,000-year-old Heartless flower, as well as other precious herbs. Heavens! This is too rich. The medicine gardens of those 3 alchemist families are not much better than this. Bai Chio was shocked. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. He was a 4th-tier alchemist and knew the value of this medicine garden better than Bai Chio. There were too many immortal herbs and precious herbs inside. There were even some rare herbs. It was enough for him to refine a 6th-grade Baodan. He took a deep breath. Together with the soil, he moved all the precious herbs and immortal herbs into the stone ring on his right hand. This stone ring was obtained from the corpse of a king in the sword tomb. There were close to 1,000 cubic meters inside, and it could store many things. It was not difficult to store the medicine garden here. After about 10 breaths of time, he put all the immortal herbs and precious herbs inside. Only then did he leave with Bai Chio, heading deeper into the palace. A loud sound came from behind. The desolate demon body smashed a corner of the palace hall with an immortal tool and rushed here. Roar! An angry roar sounded. Energy surged. Within the palace hall, the Ghost King rushed over with a dozen corpses. The fluctuations of death were shocking to the extreme. The desolate demon body was covered in blood, and its eyes shone with an ominous light. With a loud roar, it smashed the main hall into pieces with its immortal artifact. Huge rocks fell down, blocking the Ghost King and the dozen corpses, temporarily blocking their path. Turning its head, the desolate demon body stared at Lin Tian with a fierce gaze. It roared. The giant immortal tool bone circled and directly attacked. Humph! Lin Tian laughed. He activated the stone mirror and swept it out, shattering the giant rock that sealed the Ghost King. With a boom, light surged. The Ghost King roared and rushed out. It stared at the desolate demon body and attacked. The desolate demon body was furious. Its giant bone shook, sweeping out a boundless demonic light. You're really too evil. Bai Chio snickered. Lin Tian had made a few consecutive moves, either drawing the Ghost King's spear onto the desolate Yao body or preventing the desolate Yao body from escaping the Ghost King's attack range. Bai Chio couldn't help but roll her eyes. However, that Pitsong is really powerful. He escaped from the Ghost King again and again. But the physique that can be called a king in the same generation is not just empty words. Lin Tian lung. He glanced behind him and pulled Bai Chio deeper into the palace. Soon, they were behind another 1,000 zhang away. Waves of shocking ripples came from up ahead. Lin Tian and Bai Chio ascended into the sky and discovered that there was actually a large group of cultivators up ahead. They encountered a dense group of soldiers in a dark valley. Moreover, there were quite a few malicious ghosts roaring and charging. Lin Tian frowned. Why did cultivators suddenly appear in front of them? There are many entrances to the Sea King's palace, covering all directions. These people should have entered from other places and arrived here. Bai Qiu said. The Yin's soldiers and malicious spirits roared. There were so many of them that it was a little shocking. Yin Qi surged like black clouds. Lin Tian was secretly shocked. The ancient tomb of a great Dao realm existence was indeed terrifying. There were groups of Yin's soldiers and malicious spirits, and there were even existences on the level of the Ghost King. Ordinary people would definitely die if they barged in. The more powerful the cultivator, the more dangerous and terrifying the tomb they are buried in. Compared to this, the tomb of the immortal connecting alchemist is not even worth mentioning. Danger and opportunity are equal, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded. You're right. After entering this ancient tomb, he had gained a lot. There were hundreds of treasured weapons and a medicinal garden. The value was astonishingly high. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu did not look back and continued to go deeper. Not long after, a palace appeared in front of them. There were large walls around it, and there were strange patterns carved on the walls. There were ferocious apes from the continent and berserk demons from the sea. When Lin Tian and Bai Qiu approached this place, the 4 large walls lit up. Ferocious apes walked out from the large walls, and berserk demons roared. They turned into ferocious beasts and pounced toward the 2 of them. There was actually materialized demonic qi. This is demonic soldiers materialized from Dao marks. Be careful, Bai Qiu said. Inside the large walls, demonic beasts stepped out one after another. All of them had blood-red eyes and pounced toward Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. These ferocious demons do not have physical forms. It is very difficult for ordinary methods to destroy them. They should be engraved by the Sea region's ancient king. Bai Qiu said solemnly. We should try our best to avoid them and find other paths to go deeper. Since there were cultivators ahead, she believed that there must be other paths that led to the depths of the Sea King's palace. It's fine. Let's go straight. Lin Tian was not worried at all. His right hand shook. The 4 symbols Dao diagram condensed and slapped forward. With a qi sound, a ferocious ape that rushed forward was directly annihilated, disappearing without a trace under the 4 symbols Dao diagram. What kind of precious technique is this? Bai Qiu stared. The demonic beasts that stepped out from the stone walls were all very ferocious. They did not have physical forms, nor were they spiritual forms. They were materialized from Dao marks and were extremely unordinary. However, Lin Tian easily destroyed them. This made her very shocked. She stared straight at the 4 symbols Dao diagram. Can you teach me this precious technique? It is a top secret of the sect. It cannot be divulged to outsiders. Lin Tian laughed. Go die. Bai Qiu cursed. Lin Tian smiled. He used the 4 symbols Dao diagram to open a path. He broke through the stone walls in all directions and stepped into the depths. Lin Tian pushed open a stone door. Inside were piles of white bones. There were dozens of coffins lined up on both sides. Densin's soldiers were gathered together. They were all breathing out black mist. There was a rotten smell in the air that made people want to vomit. Bai Qiu was not very happy. She stepped forward and said fiercely, I will open a path. Kill them all. A graceful sword appeared in her hand. It was engraved with densely packed patterns. She slashed forward with the sword. Qi, qi, qi. The Yin's soldiers that rushed out were shattered and turned to ashes. The sword in her hand was a special weapon from her family. It was engraved with Dao patterns by powerful, immortal-level existences. It was used to kill Yin's soldiers and spirits. She had used this weapon in the ancient alchemist tomb. Now, she was using it again. Normal Yin soldiers will not be able to withstand a single blow from this sword. With this lady's current cultivation, even if it is a malicious spirit, I can kill it with one strike. Bai Qiu said proudly. Lin Tian curled his lips. He was too lazy to say anything. Bai Qiu was beside him. She kept swinging her sword, slashing out streaks of immortal light, shattering all the Ean's soldiers and spirits. Lin Tian looked ahead. Suddenly, his expression changed. He saw a human corpse moving among the Ean's soldiers. It was an old man in a gray robe. Although there was a gloomy death aura lingering around his body, it seemed like he hadn't been dead for too long. His flesh hadn't rotted yet. Most importantly, he felt an extremely familiar aura from the old man. It was the fluctuation of soul power. Moreover, it was an extremely tyrannical soul power. A sixth-grade array controller? He was shocked. Chapter 423. Lin Tian had the yin-yang Lotus Sea avatar, which was the nemesis of all spirits. He could also sense the existence of all evil spirits. As soon as he entered this space, he had sensed the evil spirits sealed in the stone pillars. However, when these evil spirits were sealed inside, the stone pillar was equivalent to a seal. As long as no one destroyed or stimulated it, the evil corpses inside would not be able to come out. Therefore, although he discovered this, he did not say much and did not care. He directly walked forward. However, he did not expect that the people behind him would actually directly break the stone pillar and release the things inside. Ah! Miserable cries reverberated through this spacious hall. More cultivators met with misfortune, cut in half by the sea beast that fell out from the stone pillars. This sea beast was shaped like a human body. Its head was like a coral, and part of it was rotten. The intact parts were pale white. It's much more terrifying than a malicious spirit. Bai Qiu shrunk his neck. When the sea beast fell out of the stone pillars, it was like a god of death that had walked out of hell. Its eyes were pitch black and empty as it started a massacre. The cultivators were terrified, and screams could be heard from time to time. "It's coming toward us," Bai Qiu said. The sea beast twisted its body and walked over. It appeared in front of Lin Tian. The rusty king's saber in its hand slashed down with a cold light. With a clang, the space shattered. "It's comparable to an immortal," Lin Tian whispered. He raised his right hand and slapped the king's saber, producing a crisp clang. Then, with a buzzing sound, Shi Yin urged the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. The dense yin and yang twin lotuses condensed into a 4-foot-long sword, slashing at the head of the yin corpse sea beast. It landed firmly on its neck. The sea beast howled miserably after being hit by the yin-yang lotus sword. It was sent flying, but the next moment it stood up again. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. "How is that possible? Your sea of consciousness is specialized in restraining these evil spirits. It didn't cause any substantial damage to it?" Lin Tian didn't seem to care. "I've already said that we'll kill whoever we can. It'll take a lot of effort to kill those that we can't." The sea beast yin corpse roared, and green smoke rose from its neck that was slashed by the lotus sword. Its hollow eyes became even darker, and it charged towards Lin Tian again. A terrifying yin chi spread out from its body and from its eyes. The yin chi was pitch black and as dense as ink. It looked extremely horrifying. Lin Tian retreated, his right hand blocking the sea beast yin corpse's king blade, his lotus sword once again slashing at the opponent. Against these evil yin spirit bodies, his knowledge sea phenomenon was the most effective method. But after this sword strike, the sea beast yin corpse still didn't suffer any substantial damage. Only its screams became even more hair-raising. When he was alive, he was already in the immortal realm. After he died, he turned into a yin corpse and was close to becoming a ghost king. Lin Tian frowned. An evil ghost was comparable to an airborne realm powerhouse, and a ghost king was comparable to an immortal realm powerhouse. Moreover, it was far more powerful than an ordinary immortal realm powerhouse. He had read an ancient book before. It was recorded that a ghost king had appeared in an ancient tomb of a Wuzhen realm cultivator. It had killed 18 fifth heaven of the immortal ascension realm cultivators, leaving only one alive. The immortal ascension realm cultivator who had escaped had his heart attacked by corpse poison after recording what had happened in the tomb. He did not survive. Although this sea beast yin corpse hadn't reached the level of a ghost king, it was close. Clang! The lotus sword moved again and landed on the sea beast yin corpse's chest, sending it flying 7 feet away. The sea beast Een corpse howled in pain, but it stood up straight again. Its pitch-black eyes became even more terrifying. It can't be killed? Even that madman can't do anything. Many people's hearts palpitated. At this moment, a cracking sound came from within the hall. Around them, the surface of some stone pillars began to fall off automatically, stained with the Indian's blood. Instantly, everyone's expression changed. One sea beast Een corpse was already difficult for them to deal with. Now that the stone pillars were falling off, it seemed like something else was coming out. Clang, clang, clang. A series of crisp sounds were heard. Soon, more Een corpses walked out from more than a dozen stone pillars. There were headless humanoid knights, 3-headed and 6-armed ocean demons, the evil infant with a head as large as a basket, and some other terrifying creatures of the ocean. All of them exuded a thick aura of death, and they surrounded the cultivators in the center. Baichio opened his mouth and muttered, "This is bad. It's over." Many people's faces turned pale. Just one sea beast Een corpse had jumped out, and none of them could deal with it. Now that so many Een corpses walked out, it was simply a disaster. At this moment, they were surrounded in the middle, and there was no doubt that they would die. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of swords rang out. The black and white lotus petals fluttered, sweeping a few Een corpses away and opening a gap. "Everyone, leave this place." Lin Tian Dao. Many cultivators were shocked. When they saw Lin Tian opening a gap, they were overjoyed. "Fellow Taoist Lin, be careful." Following this gap, all the cultivators moved and ran out in the blink of an eye, fleeing into the depths. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Tian and Bai Chio were left. "I didn't expect you to be so kind. You're blocking here and letting the others leave. Is this considered sacrificing yourself for others?" Bai Chio teased. Lin Tian glanced at her and kicked the headless horseman that pounced at him. "There are too many people standing here, so it's not easy to use some of my methods," he said. With a buzz, the Yin Yang Lotus Sea rushed out from behind him. He waved his hands repeatedly, and the entire Lotus Sea swayed. In an instant, the sky was filled with black and white lotus petals, covering the entire hall. "So many!" Bai Chio was surprised. It was the first time she saw Lin Tian display so many lotus petals. "Stand here and don't move." Lin Tian Dao. As soon as he finished speaking, his feet swayed, and he rushed out. The Yin Yang lotus petals floated around densely, forming a lotus petal cage that trapped more than 10 Een corpses inside. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the sea beast Een corpse. He grabbed the sea beast Een corpse's king saber with his right hand and used his left elbow to hit the sea beast Een corpse's chest. With a bang, the sea beast Een corpse flew dozens of feet away and fell to the side. Although there's a lot of rust, it's comparable to an ordinary high-grade supreme treasure. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He waved his right hand and imprinted his divine sense on the king's saber. Then he put it into the stone ring. His weapon control technique had reached a certain level, and now he needed a lot of precious weapons. Once he had enough precious weapons, his combat strength would increase by a lot. Thinking about it, if more than 100 high-grade supreme treasures were combined, the scene would definitely be terrifying. In the distance, Bai Chio's eyes widened when she saw this scene. This guy is even snatching the things of the dead. In the field, Lin Tian was extremely fast. He appeared in front of the headless horseman and attacked with the lotus petals, snatching the spear in the headless horseman's hand. Like the long saber from before, the spear was mottled with rust, but it was still stronger than an ordinary high-grade supreme treasure. Bang! 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 He appeared beside the Een corpses one after another. His fists, palms, sword fingers, and elbows continuously landed on these Een corpses. He sent more than 10 Een corpses flying one after another and snatched all the weapons in their hands. Among them, he snatched a single-edged long saber from a human-shaped sea beast. It was actually comparable to a quasi-immortal artifact, which was very shocking. The Een corpses roared fiercely, and Een chi surged like black clouds. At this time, Lin Tian had snatched a total of 13 weapons. Among them, 12 were high-grade supreme treasures, and one was a quasi-immortal artifact. In fact, when these weapons were intact, almost half of them were immortal artifacts. However, they had been sealed in the stone pillars for too long and lost a lot of their spirituality. As a result, they lost a lot of their sharpness and were not as powerful as before. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of swords rang out. The dense lotus petals all turned into sword blades and slashed down crazily like a black and white sword rain. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. There was no smoke in the main hall. All the Een corpses had fallen, and their bodies were shattered. Then they scattered like sand. Didn't you say it's difficult to kill them? Bai Qiu stared straight ahead. Just because it's difficult to kill doesn't mean it's impossible to kill them. Lin Tiandao. Earlier, he'd already activated the Yin-Yang Lotus Ocean to the limit, and during the process of seizing their weapons, he'd secretly poured the energy of the four-symbol seal into the corpses every single time he struck the corpses of these Yin-Yang corpses. This was to solidify the Yin energy within their bodies and cause their various abilities to decrease greatly before finally killing them with his full strength. He had activated the Yin-Yang Lotus Sea to the extreme, and it was difficult for him to condense all the swords. He could only attack with the dense lotus petals. He still couldn't control this very well. That was why he asked the other cultivators to leave, as he was worried that they would accidentally hurt others. He tilted his head and stared at the other stone pillars. There were about 100 stone pillars, and it seemed that there was a living being sealed in each stone pillar. Bai Qiu followed his gaze. After a while, he said, the ancient king of the sea region was very domineering. In order to unify the sea region, his ferocious aura spread everywhere. Anyone in the sea region who refused to submit was suppressed in the end and disappeared without a trace. Now, it seems that the disappeared experts of the sea region are all sealed here in these stone pillars. So bloody? Lin Tian frowned. Otherwise, why do you think the Sea King's palace collapsed after the ancient king of the sea region died? It's because the ancient king killed too many people and used death to force the experts of the sea region to submit. In this way, the loyalty of those experts of the sea region is obvious. Once the ancient king died, they naturally returned to their homes. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded. He understood. Looking at the stone pillars, he rubbed his chin and said, it's quite pitiful. I'll help them free themselves. You just want to steal their weapons. Why are you making it sound so dignified? Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian was speechless. He coughed dryly and moved. He used his sword light to break the stone pillars one by one and released all the living beings sealed in them. Then he activated the Yin-Yang Lotus Sea to the extreme and used the same method to kill the Yin corpses one after another, snatching all the weapons in their hands. There were a total of 93 weapons. Among them, there were pseudo-immortal weapons from the three sects, and the rest were superior-grade supreme treasures. Not bad, continue. He was slightly satisfied. There were still 13 stone pillars left in the hall. He waved his sword light and destroyed them one by one. Just as he broke through the last stone pillar, an extremely terrifying Yin Qi swept out, as if the gates of hell had been opened. A figure covered in black armor walked out. It was like the source of death, and its eyes were blood red. Lin Tian's expression changed. He quickly retreated, and the hair on his back stood on end. I dug out a ghost king. Chapter 424. Staring at the corpse, Lin Tian was both shocked and suspicious. The other party was definitely a rank 6 array manipulator, and the time of his death was about 4 months ago, not more than 5 months ago. As such, he immediately frowned. For months ago, the tomb of the Sea King had yet to be opened. How could there be the corpse of a Matrix manipulator here? Could it be that the Matrix manipulator had silently entered and was subsequently killed by evil spirits? Clang! Bai Qiu slashed forward with his sword as he heard the sound of a sword. Lin Tianyi was shocked. He quickly grabbed Bai Qiu's wrist. The girl's sword was slashing toward the array manipulator's corpse. What are you doing? Bai Qiu stared at him. Stop for a moment. Don't attack. Wait for me here. Lin Tiandao. With that, he rushed into the group of ghost soldiers. There were a lot of ghost soldiers in front of him, but he wasn't slow. Using the yin-yang lotus sea, he quickly appeared in front of the array manipulator's corpse and suppressed it with the four-symbol seal. Then he withdrew from the group of ghost soldiers. Why did you bring a corpse back? Bai Qiu stared at him. Lin Tian shook his head. You could do it now. Vent your anger. Bai Qiu raised her beautiful eyebrows. She snorted and swung her sword forward. Lin Tian refused to teach her the four-symbol seal. She was naturally unhappy. She vented all her anger on the ghost soldiers in front of her. She destroyed a large number of evil soldiers with her sword. Lin Tian's attention fell on the corpse he brought back. He pressed his right hand between the corpse's eyebrows and activated the Tianyi soul art. He could clearly feel the vast soul power in the corpse. It's indeed a sixth-order array manipulator. He frowned and glanced at the corpse. There was a transparent, bloody hole in the corpse's chest. There was demon energy around the wound. It wasn't killed by ghost soldiers. His heart skipped a beat. A strand of divine sense floated out from between his eyebrows and entered the corpse. A moment later, his expression changed slightly. Bai Qiu happened to see this scene. She asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Lin Tian shook his head and glanced at the path he came from. "Nothing." Bai Qiu replied with an "oh" and didn't mind. He unleashed the full power of his Zephyr realm cultivation and slashed out streaks of threatening sword light through the long sword in his hand. She had the Lunar King physique, so her combat power was naturally not weak. In addition, the sword in her hand was specially forged to kill Yin soldiers and evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, a large number of Yin soldiers died under her sword. Lin Tian tilted his head and spread out his divine sense to search the surroundings. Not long after, he found a sealed palace. "Let's stop first. I need to go into seclusion for a while," he told Bai Qiu. "Seclusion? Why are you in seclusion at this time?" Bai Qiu frowned. "Don't ask too many questions. Come and protect me." "Hey, is this the attitude of a follower? Have I become your personal maid?" Bai Qiu said furiously. Lin Tian was speechless. "Respected Princess White, I'll have to trouble you to protect me. I have something very important to do." "That's right." Bai Qiu nodded in satisfaction. Lin Tian got up and waved his right hand. The ninth sword of the burning sun with the yin-yang lotus petal slashed out, shattering a large number of Yin soldiers. He grabbed the array controller's body with one hand and grabbed Bai Qiu with the other. In the blink of an eye, they flashed into the palace not far away. "You brought the body with you?" Bai Qiu stared at him. "Don't mind it. I'll go inside. You stay here and watch the door. Don't let anyone disturb me," he said. Bai Qiu had the Lunar King physique and had reached the second sky of the Zephyr flight. In terms of combat power, she was definitely one of the supremes of the younger generation. He was not very worried about Bai Qiu's safety. Ordinary people could not threaten Bai Qiu. Bai Qiu nodded and stood still with her sword in hand. She looked very cautious. After Lin Tian entered the palace, he put down the array controller's body and formed a hand seal. Suddenly, a soul seal appeared. Buzz! A faint silver light flashed. He opened his hands, and a net of silver light intertwined. The net of silver threads connected and shrunk quickly, covering his right hand. Finally, it condensed into a light seal. He used his sword finger to insert it into the array controller's forehead. In an instant, the array controller's sea of consciousness lit up. When he suppressed the corpse, Lin Tian carefully scanned it. He found that the array controller's sea of consciousness had not dried up. Moreover, the array controller's sea of consciousness was very strong. He and the array controller were both array controllers. Now he was going to use the core secret method of the Heavenly One Soul spell to integrate the array controller's understanding and soul power into his own body. Buzz! A faint light flashed. The rich soul power of the array controller's sea of consciousness flowed into his body through his fingers. It could be seen that strands of light intertwined on the surface of his right hand. It was also silver and very pure. Lin Tian closed his eyes and pointed his sword finger at the array controller's forehead. He put his left hand on his knee and circulated the Heavenly One's soul spell faster. Gradually, more and more silver light flowed out from the array controller's sea of consciousness and flowed into Lin Tian's body through his right hand. At this moment, his right hand was the bridge that connected the two. The silver light entered his body and quickly merged into his sea of consciousness. Soon, numerous rune arrays appeared in his sea of consciousness and flew to every corner of his sea of consciousness. Then, the Heavenly One's soul spell circulated even faster. The array controller's sea of consciousness and soul power were slowly guided into Lin Tian's body. As a result, Lin Tian's aura suddenly became stronger. It was like a mountain flood, rising steadily and could not be stopped. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 12 hours had passed. Boom! At this moment, an extremely strong wave of energy rushed out from Lin Tian's body and spread in all directions. Almost at the same time, Lin Tian's left hand moved. He used his sword finger to carve runes in the void in front of him. Dots of light intertwined and suppressed the array controller's overflowing aura to a very small area. Boom! 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 The aura in his body became stronger wave by wave. It was not the fluctuation of true yuan, but the fluctuation of soul power. The bright silver light was like a flickering flame. After another 15 minutes, it stopped and slowly calmed down. Lin Tian opened his eyes. A ray of light flashed through them. "I've reached the 6th level," he muttered to himself. He used the Heavenly One's soul spell's core secret method to merge with the sea of consciousness and soul power of the 6th level array controller's corpse. He had turned all of the array controller's understanding into his own. Finally, he had broken through the bottleneck and entered the 6th level array controller. Just now, he had used his left hand to carve runes in the void. After reaching the 6th level, he did not need to rely on Yin Mo anymore. He could directly carve runes in the void. He lowered his head to look at the withered array controller's corpse. His eyes flashed with light. They were deep and cold. He closed his eyes and placed his hands on his knees. In his sea of consciousness, runes appeared and flashed by. Soon, another 12 hours had passed. He had been in seclusion for an entire day. Faint silver light intertwined on the surface of his body. It finally stabilized and gradually disappeared. He opened his eyes, glanced around, and stood up. "If I don't bury someone else, I'll turn to dust and scatter with the wind." He looked at the array controller's corpse on the ground. With a wave of his right hand, a ball of fire appeared and covered the corpse. In the blink of an eye, the corpse was burned to ashes and scattered with the wind. He paused for a moment and tilted his head to look at the sky. With his left hand behind his back, he strode out of the hall. "You're awake?" Bai Qiu greeted him. Lin Tian was speechless. "I'm in seclusion, not sleeping." "It's the same," Bai Qiu pointed outside the hall. "It's been a day. Many cultivators have passed by here. There are more than 200 of them. Many of them are at the peak of the Zephyr realm. We have to hurry. We're not far from the depths of the Sea King's palace. If someone else takes the stilling water pearl, I'll cry." "Lin Tian, don't worry, the stilling water pearl is yours. No one could take it away," he said. Kicking open the hall's door, he and Bai Qiu walked into the depths. Along the way, there were many cultivator corpses on the ground. Of course, there were even more corpses of Yin soldiers. Black blood and rotten flesh were everywhere. "Right? How are the Ghost King and the Yin corpses by its side?" he asked Bai Qiu. "Well, those ordinary Yin corpses have been mostly destroyed. However, the Ghost King is simply invincible. Wherever it goes, people will die. No one can stop it. Even the desolate demon body was almost killed. Also, that Yang Qi also entered here. He's very terrifying. Most of the Yin corpses around the Ghost King were killed by him." Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and nodded. "Let's go deeper," he said. Bai Qiu nodded and followed Lin Tian. She carefully looked around. Suddenly, she saw Lin Tian's left hand moving in the air as if he was writing or drawing. She immediately stared with her beautiful eyes. Hey, What are you doing with your left hand? Nothing, just moving my fingers. Lin Tian smiled. Bai Qiu glanced at him suspiciously, but in the end, she didn't care. She pulled Lin Tian and quickly walked deeper. It had to be said that the ancient king who unified the sea area in the past was really powerful. He had built many palaces, one connected to another. They were all very grand and gave off a kind of atmosphere and majesty. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu walked together. In 2 hours, they crossed 2 groups of palaces and entered another huge hall. This hall was wider than any of the previous halls. As far as the eye could see, it was more than 10,000 square meters. It was shockingly large. Boom! True essence fluctuations filled the palace. Many cultivators were inside, and they were roaring in anger. Some of them were screaming. There were quite a few pillars in the hall, and each pillar was engraved with many ancient beasts. At this moment, all of these beasts came to life and entered the stone pillars with their bodies of light. True beastly roars could be heard as they crushed the cultivators one by one. It's the Tao pattern from before, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian raised his head. His eyes flickered with silver light. He looked deeper into the hall. There were familiar fluctuations intertwining. Let's go. Chapter 4:25. Dragon is going to the hospital for a checkup. Today is the day off. I hope everyone will forgive me. After that, I will rush to Beijing tomorrow and the day after. I can only read 1 chapter every day. In total, he owed 4 chapters in these 3 days. Together with the 10 chapters from before, he owed a total of 14 chapters. Dragon will make up for it in April. Chapter 4:26. Behind the spacious hall was another flat garden. Compared to the front, this garden seemed even more spacious. The air inside was very thin, and the spiritual energy was even more scarce. The plants had already withered, and there was a dense yin-qi lingering around. Full text to read, boom. Shocking energy fluctuations came from up ahead, followed by screams. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu rushed over and saw many figures fighting, surrounded by ghostly soldiers and ghosts. Clang! A saber light slashed down, landing on one of the ghosts and shattering it. Lin Tian looked up and saw Yang Qi standing in the air, the saber in his hand shining brightly as he strode deeper into the garden. Die! The wild demon physique's mouth was bleeding, but his aura was terrifying, and he destroyed a large number of ghostly soldiers and ghosts. At the same time, Lin Tian saw 3 other powerful figures. They were middle-aged men, and their bodies were surrounded by ripples of god power. They were all immortals. They're not from the Holy Land or the aristocratic clans. They're rogue cultivators. Bai Qiu said, "Roar!" The ghost king roared, and it spat out a mist of death, destroying a flight cultivator. The wild demon physiques group charged deeper into the garden. The ghost king roared, and its eyes were bloodshot as it chased after them. Hide your aura. Don't let the ghost king see you. Lin Tiandao nodded. Bai Qiu nodded seriously and followed Lin Tianyi carefully into the garden. Many cultivators rushed into the garden, and all of them were experts. There were many cultivators at the Zephyr realm. At this level, ordinary Yin soldiers and ghosts would have a hard time hurting them. However, there was a ghost king among them. Almost no one could survive the ghost king. Roar! The ghost king roared, and another flight cultivator was torn to shreds. It charged toward a middle-aged man in yellow robes. The man's expression changed, and he quickly dodged, retreating in panic. The ghost king's aura was too terrifying. Even the wild demon physique didn't want to fight it, let alone ordinary immortals. A sword light slashed down and landed on the ghost king, killing it and forcing it to retreat several steps. Let's go! Not far away, a middle-aged man in green clothes spoke. Of the 3 middle-aged men, one was dressed in green, one was dressed in gray, and one was dressed in yellow. Clearly, they were acquaintances. The yellow-robed middle-aged man nodded and quickly retreated. The group moved extremely quickly and soon approached the depths. Roar! The Ghost King roared and gave chase. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu circled around to one side, also approaching the depths. Finally, they reached the end of Sea King's palace. As far as the eye could see, there was a purple coffin at the end. It was made of a special crystal, and it could be seen that there was a human-shaped corpse lying in the coffin. It had long withered. Vaguely, there was a transparent bead on the chest of the corpse. It was sparkling and translucent, as if it was made of spiritual water. A faint radiance lingered around it. Outside the purple crystal coffin, there were many stone pillars erected on the ground. Lin Tian took a closer look and found that there were exactly 108 pillars surrounding the coffin. Sea King's coffin? Inside there is the legendary water-stilling pearl, a sacred object that can control water and increase the speed of cultivation. You're right, it's that orb. Many cultivators' eyes lit up. The water-stilling pearl was undoubtedly the most valuable treasure in Sea King's palace. It was clearly recorded in the ancient books. The cultivators who came here were all powerhouses. Naturally, they were familiar with Sea King's palace. Most of them came here for the water-stilling pearl. In the distance, Bai Qiu and Lin Tian stood together, staring ahead with shining eyes. I see it. The water-stilling pearl is in that coffin. Let's go. Don't let others get there first. Lin Tian frowned and pulled her back. Don't rush. It's not that easy to get in. What do you mean? Bai Qiu was puzzled. Just as she spat out 3 words, there was a scream in front of them. Some cultivators rushed forward, heading towards Sea King's coffin. However, they were killed by a strange killing light as soon as they got close. What's going on? Bai Qiu was shocked. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes as he stared at the stone pillars around the Sea King's coffin. He said, "These stone pillars form a great formation that firmly protects the purple crystal coffin. Within a certain range of the stone pillars, there are many places that are dangerous." Many places? You mean? Lin Tian nodded and said, "The ancient king of the sea must have obtained the materials to set up this formation from a powerful formation master. Then, he set it up outside his coffin. If one doesn't know the structure of this formation and casually enters, one wrong step will lead to disaster." Can't we just destroy the stone pillars? Bai Qiu asked. Lin Tian was speechless. He pointed ahead and said, "Take a look." A blood-curdling scream came from where Lin Tian's right hand was pointing at. A warrior at the peak of the Zephyr realm tried to destroy the stone pillar, but he was met with an even more terrifying killing light and was crushed into a bloody mist on the spot. Bai Qiu shrank back. How scary. Outside the stone pillars, as people died, many people were shocked and their expressions changed. This killing formation can't destroy the stone pillars. Damn it, the Ghost King is here. Many people's expressions changed. Everyone was trapped outside the 108 stone pillars. Seeing the Ghost King coming, most of them were terrified. Yang Qi stood aside, and a mountain of knives appeared behind him. He supported the vision in his sea of consciousness and stepped into the stone pillars. After stepping in, there was no reaction. Then, Yang Qi stepped out a second time and walked toward the purple crystal coffin. He's in. Follow his footsteps. Quick! Some people were happy. Many people remembered Yang Qi's footsteps and followed him in. The people in front entered safely, but the people behind were in great trouble. There was a killing light, and they were immediately hit by the bloody mist. How can this be? Their steps are not wrong. This formation is changing. Many people were shocked. Screams sounded. The Ghost King was attacking, and some people died at the hands of the Ghost King. Outside the formation, the desolate demon physique's eyes shone with a wild light. He supported the desolate heaven world, and the demon beast roared and stepped into the formation. There was no killing light. The desolate demon physique stepped out a second time. I have a secret treasure to explore the formation patterns. Follow me, the middle-aged man in gray said. The next moment, a treasured ring appeared, shining faintly. The other 2 middle-aged men followed the middle-aged man, vigilant and careful. They also stepped into the stone pillars. They're all in. Bai Qiu was anxious. Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes. Don't worry. Let's watch for a while. He was not in a hurry to enter. Instead, silver light flowed in his eyes, and he secretly used the One Heaven Soul incantation to sense the formation. As far as he was concerned, this formation was created by at least a 7th-tier formation master. The deeper one went, the more difficult it would be to walk safely. Although Bai Qiu was anxious, she could only wait. Lin Tianwei said that, "Hey, what are you doing with your left hand? You've been drawing the whole time. What are you doing?" Bai Qiu frowned. She saw Lin Tian scribbling something in the air without any order. "I'm just moving my fingers out of habit," Lin Tianwei said. 15 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Many cultivators had already entered the formation. Some of them used special methods to sense the formation runes and walked forward with difficulty. Yang Qi, the Baron Demon Physique, and 3 middle-aged men in the Immortal Ascension realm were at the front of the formation. At that moment, the 5 of them were in big trouble. At that moment, they were less than 50 feet away from the crystal coffin, but it was difficult for them to move forward. From time to time, murderous light would strike them. If not for their strength and secret treasures, they would have been killed several times. "Is it okay?" Bai Qiu urged outside the formation. Lin Tianwei's eyes flashed with a final silver light. "Give me your hand and follow behind me." Bai Qiu nodded and quickly put her hand in Lin Tianwei's. "Those guys are almost here. I don't know if we can make it in time. If the steadying water pearl is gone, I'll really cry." She curled her lips. "Don't worry. I'll get it for you," Lin Tianwei said. He pulled Bai Qiu, and the yin-yang lion flashed and rushed into the formation like a bolt of lightning. Bai Qiu was shocked. "Hey, that's too fast. Don't you think? It's very dangerous." She had been watching the formation closely. Many people had died in it, including the Baron Demon Physique, the descendants of the Yang family, and the 3 Immortal Ascension realm cultivators. Those people had to think for a long time before taking a step, but Lin Tianwei didn't seem to think at all. "Don't worry," Lin Tianwei said. His footsteps flashed, and he didn't stop after entering the formation. He quickly approached the crystal coffin. He was now a 6th-stage formation master. When he used the One Heaven Soul incantation, he had observed the formation for a long time and analyzed the formation's patterns. Of course, the so-called analysis was only to know how to walk in the formation. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with Yang Qi, who was at the front. That Lin Tianwei doesn't need to think at all? How did he do it?" Many people stared at him. Bai Qiu was even more flabbergasted. She had clearly felt the terror of this sect's grand formation, and had killed numerous peak-level Zephyr Realm cultivators. But now, Lin Tian had brought her into this formation, and it was as if they were walking on flat ground. Yang Qi looked over, and his eyes flashed with a strange light. Lin Tianwei moved very quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had passed Yang Qi and was in the lead. Yang Qi frowned. Although he knew what to do next, he stopped and didn't move forward. Lin Tian's pace was too fast, freely shuttling through this terrifying great formation. He was very clear that he couldn't catch up. The Baron Demon Physique's eyes flashed fiercely as he slashed a demonic light at Lin Tianwei's back. The demonic light was 3 meters long, eerie and threatening. Clang! In response, he slashed out with a beam of saber light that shattered the wild demon body's beam of light. "How dare you block my path?" The Baron Demon Physique's eyes were cold as he glared at Yang Qi. Yang Qi's expression didn't change, and he just stood there. Lin Tian turned his head to look at Yang Qi. He had just passed Yang Qi by about 10 feet and was in a very special position. If he tried to stop the demonic light from the desolate demon body, he would attract the killing light from the Great Formation itself, which would cause him a lot of trouble. It seemed that Yang Qi knew this and helped him break the Baron Demon Physique's attack. Roar! At this moment, a violent roar sounded. The Ghost King's eyes were blood red as he rushed in and pounced on Lin Tianwei. P.S. Yesterday, I went to the hospital for a checkup and found out that it's nerve tinnitus. The doctor said that it's caused by excessive stress and emotional instability. It can only be controlled now, and it's difficult to completely cure. Depressing. Here to tell all the friends, you must work and rest regularly. Don't give yourself too much pressure and exercise more. Also, today is Marshall Dow brother Ling Yun's birthday. I wish him a happy birthday and a lot of money. Chapter 427. The 108 stone pillars were difficult to destroy, and the Ghost King rushed into them, charging at Lin Tian. Boom! A bolt of lightning as thick as a baby's arm struck the Ghost King's body. With a bang, the Ghost King was sent flying, green smoke rising from its chest as it screamed in agony. Just as it was retreating, it seemed to have triggered another killing symbol. Immediately, a large amount of killing light shrouded it and covered it. The Ghost King roared, looking very miserable. Its black armor was shattered, revealing its withered body. This, the Ghost King that can suppress immortal connecting realm and king physique. What a terrifying killing formation. Many people were shocked. Lin Tian Chao glanced behind him but did not pay much attention to it. With a flash of his feet, he continued forward. At this time, he was only 30 feet away from the purple crystal coffin. At this time, his footsteps became sluggish, and his movements were restricted. Don't even think about it, the desolate demon physique said coldly. Standing in the formation, the desolate demon physique slashed out killing light again, preventing Lin Tian from getting close to the purple crystal coffin. At the same time, not far away, the three middle-aged men's eyes narrowed, and they also slashed at Lin Tian, sending out rays of cold light. Clang! The sound of the saber was ear-piercing. Yang Qi attacked again, sending out a large amount of saber light, blocking all four attacks. He knew that it was impossible to get past Lin Tian to reach the purple crystal coffin, so he blocked the attacks for Lin Tian. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes at Yang Qi, then stepped forward again. Roar! The Ghost King roared and pounced again. However, it was useless. Within the formation, rays of killing light fell, and it fell into the dust again. Lin Tian moved quickly, crossing another 20 feet, and was only 1 foot away from the crystal coffin. The desolate demon physique's silver hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were full of wild light. With the desolate heaven world protecting him, he supported the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness and pressed down on Lin Tian, preventing Lin Tian from getting close to the purple crystal coffin. At the same time, not far away, the other three middle-aged men in the immortal connecting realm attacked together, each sending out rays of killing light, their divine abilities and secret arts pressing down on Lin Tian. Boom! Once again, he used his sea of consciousness to block all of the incoming attacks. Facing four powerful experts at the same time, even someone as powerful as him had to take a step back slightly. He had almost attracted a large amount of killing intent. You've obstructed me several times. You're seeking death. The desolate monster body's eyes were filled with savagery. The other three stared at him and said, Your Excellency, you don't seem to have any dealings with him. Why are you acting like this? Yang Qi's expression was cold, and he didn't say anything. Instead, he held his saber in his hand. Not long ago, Lin Tian had saved him once. Now, in this killing formation, Lin Tian was about to reach the purple crystal coffin. Since someone was trying to stop him, he naturally would not remain silent. We're here. It's near the purple crystal coffin. But why is that fellow able to walk so easily in this great formation? Many people spoke up. Lin Tian pulled by Chiu to the center of the array and arrived before the purple crystal coffin. He glanced behind him and smacked the lid of the purple crystal coffin open with his palm. There was a withered corpse lying in the coffin. Extremely dense yin qi rushed out of the coffin, corroding the air. It was terrifying. Even if an ordinary immortal-reaching immortal expert was infected by this yin qi, they would instantly turn into a puddle of thick water. Fortunately, Lin Tian had been prepared for this. As soon as he opened the coffin lid, he set up his yin-yang lotus sea to keep the yin energy at bay. He looked inside the coffin. The withered corpse had long since lost all signs of life. It was just a corpse that had not turned into yin wretchedness. On the corpse's chest was a sparkling and translucent water droplet that emitted a faint light. It was very pure. The water-steadying pearl. Someone cried out, their eyes shining brightly. Many people clenched their fists. Bai Qiu leaned against Lin Tian, her eyes shining as she stared at the water-steadying pearl. This was a rare treasure that could increase a cultivator's cultivation speed and allow them to control all water sources. However, she wanted to obtain this stilling water bead because of its other use, which was to allow women to retain their beauty forever. Of course, men could also do the same. Lin Tian waved his hand and took the water-steadying pearl out of the coffin. As soon as the stilling water pearl entered his hand, he instantly felt a gentle energy flow into his body through his arm. Furthermore, as he held the stilling water pearl, he could feel the movement of all the water sources within a radius of 10 miles. He even had a feeling that he could summon all the water sources to him in an instant with just a thought. "It's mine!" Bai Qiu stared at Lin Tian with wide eyes. Lin Tian smiled and said, "I know. I'll give it to you later, but I need to use it later." Bai Qiu was confused. "What do you—" Before she could finish her sentence, the entire Sea King's palace began to shake. Streaks of blood-red patterns flashed, and a terrifying power surged within them. A cultivator at the seventh heavens of the Imperial Sky Realm was accidentally swept by one of the patterns. He screamed miserably and exploded, turning into a pool of blood that splashed onto the ground. This is what's going on? Formation patterns? They cover the entire Sea King's palace. Everyone's expression changed. It wasn't just them. Even the wild demon body, Yang Qi, and the 3 middle-aged immortals were shocked. The blood-red patterns made them feel a terrifying threat. Good, good, good. A burst of laughter rang out. It was coarse and cold, causing the air to tremble. In the next moment, 4 figures appeared in the east, south, west, and north of the Sea King's palace. They were 4 burly humans, but they couldn't hide their dense, demonic energy. Clearly, they were ferocious beasts in human form. Moreover, their auras were terrifying, comparable to those at the peak of the immortal ascension realm. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the figure in the east, narrowing his eyes slightly. Bai Qiu followed his gaze and stared with her beautiful eyes. It's that old abyss-breaking beast. His aura is exactly the same. Not only her and Lin Tian, but the wild demon king physique also noticed this figure, and his eyes shone with wild light. Not long ago, when they were rushing to the sea, they were attacked by an old abyss-breaking beast, comparable to the peak of the immortal ascension realm. They didn't expect to meet it again in this place. The only difference was that the old abyss-breaking beast didn't appear in its beast form, but in its human form. As if noticing their gazes, the figure in the east snorted. "Did you really think I couldn't kill you in the sea? I just thought you had great potential, so I deliberately let you go and let you come here." Staring at the 3, the old abyss-breaking beast sneered. "I spent several months asking a 6th Order Formation Master to break into the Sea King's palace and engrave the blood-devouring formation. Now, I've led you here to refine a cauldron of medicine to help us reach the great Tao realm." A majestic man, surrounded by flames, stood in the west. His eyes were dark as he looked at Lin Tian, or rather, at the water-steadying pearl in Lin Tian's hand. "Not bad. Not bad at all. Even a 6th Order Formation Master would find it difficult to open the array outside the purple water coffin, but you relied on your secret treasures and your own senses to reach the end and take it out. Very good. Very good. It's enough to show that your potential and strength are amazing." The 4 of them were all-powerful demon beasts in human form. They were the 4 overlords of the sea. They were the Abyss-Breaking King, the Green Snake King, the Flame Alligator King, and the Golden Frog King. The Abyss-Breaking King's true form was a Abyss-Breaking Beast, and he was the one in the east. The Green Snake King's true form was a red and green mystic snake, and he was the one in the south. The Flame Alligator King's true form was a flame alligator, and he was the one in the west. As for the Golden Frog King, his true form was an ordinary golden frog, and he gradually cultivated to his current level. The four demon kings were all at the peak of the immortal ascension realm. We've all been tricked. Many cultivators' hearts palpitated. Around them, the blood patterns flickered, covering the entire Sea King's palace. There was a bloodthirsty power manifesting. "Begin," the Golden Frog King said. Instantly, the four of them formed seals at the same time and activated the blood patterns. The blood-colored formation patterns twisted, covering all directions and pressing down strand by strand. Ah! In the blink of an eye, someone let out a blood-curdling scream as he was directly blasted apart by the blood-colored patterns. Strands of blood seeped into the ground. Then, blood-colored light rushed up from several other directions and entered the bodies of the four sea overlords. As the blood light entered their bodies, the aura of the four of them began to increase. In the blink of an eye, it rose by a lot. Good. The four of them laughed. Compared to these four, the others in the Sea King's palace could not laugh. They were all terrified and tried to escape. However, it was useless. The blood pattern sealed every corner of the surroundings, forcing the group of people back. Those who can appear here are all powerhouses. They have rich blood chi and endless potential. After devouring your blood essence, it won't be long before we can step into the great virtue realm, the Green Snake King said. Hearing this, the expressions of the cultivators changed. Damn it, we've been used as supplements. No, this can't be. Many people were terrified. Run! Someone roared. With a bang, surging vital essence fluctuations surged, shaking the space until it distorted. Just as the Green Snake King said, the cultivators who could come here were all powerhouses. The weakest was at least at the Zephyr realm. At this moment, a group of people broke out of the encirclement and escaped at the same time. Their power was indeed not to be underestimated. However, in the blood formation supported by the four monster kings, everything was in vain. Puff, puff, puff. Blood mist exploded one after another, entering the bodies of the four monster kings through the blood patterns. Such a scene made everyone's heart palpitate. The blood-devouring great formation inscribed by a level 6 formation controller is truly different. However, that old fellow is really too childish. To think that he actually thought that we would be able to break through the great formation outside the purple crystal coffin after reaching the great Tao realm and retrieve the water-steadying pearl for him. The Abyss Destroyer King sneered, his gaze landing on Lin Tian. You're worthy of being called a peerless genius of the human race. You actually passed through such a formation on your own. Very extraordinary. Hand over the steadying water pearl. You want it? Lin Tian played with the steadying water pearl in his hand. Facing the four overlords of the sea, he was the only one who was calm among all the cultivators. There was no trace of fear in his eyes. Human, the blood-devouring formation has already sealed the surroundings. Even if you obtain the steadying water pearl now, it will be useless. The Green Snake King spoke. With a raise of his hand, endless blood patterns enveloped Lin Tian, completely imprisoning all the space around Lin Tian. Seeing that you took out the steadying water pearl in advance, I'll give you a quick death. Chapter 428. The blood runes were densely packed, covering Lin Tian like the Milky Way. Everyone was shocked. Please search Tastebook Yin Network to see the most complete. Bai Chio's expression changed. It's over. What should we do? Even an immortal ascension expert would not be able to block the blood runes. Even if she had a superior grade immortal artifact, it would be useless. Don't worry, Lin Tian said. Bai Chio was surprised. She looked at Lin Tian and pouted. Don't worry? Yes, don't worry. It's useless to worry, the Green Snake King said. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood runes covering Lin Tian became denser. We won't waste a single bit of your origin and blood essence. Rest in peace, the Hellbreaker King said. The four overlords of the sea looked indifferent, and they had a superior attitude. Lin Tian looked up and glanced at the four of them. Do you really think you could defeat me? His expression was calm. With a single thought, silver lines appeared around him. Like little fairies, they surrounded him and Bai Qiu, protecting them. The combined power of the four demon kings was repelled by the silver lines. The four overlords of the sea were shocked. At the same time, the others were also shocked, including the desolate demon physique, Yang Qi, and the three immortal ascension experts. That's formation runes? How could he have such a thing? That should be something only a powerful array manipulator can do. Everyone was shocked. Silver patterns appeared majestic and imposing. Like immortal light, they enveloped Lin Tian and Bai Qiu within. You bastard, this is your doing? Bai Qiu stared at him. Lin Tianyi smiled and looked around. The four overlords of the sea were also staring at him, their eyes shining. Formation runes? You're a sixth-order array manipulator? The Flame Crocodile King said coldly. As soon as he said that, many people were shocked again. That Lin Tian is a sixth-order array manipulator? How is that possible? There are very few array controllers in the second heaven. Where did he learn it? Most importantly, it is said that the art of controlling arrays is very difficult to learn. Most people need to spend a long time to deduce it. He is so young, but he has already reached the 6th level. How did he do it? Everyone was shocked. These cultivators were not weaklings. Naturally, they knew that array manipulators had many mysterious and unfathomable methods. This was especially true for those legendary array manipulators at the pinnacle level. They were simply the source of destruction. Destroying an inheritance was as simple as playing around. Now that Lin Tian displayed his array manipulation technique, it caused the expressions of all the cultivators to change. It was too shocking. The desolate demon body's eyes narrowed. Soon, an ominous glint appeared in his eyes. Yang Qi frowned for a moment, but then his frown disappeared. The four overlords of the sea all stared at Lin Tian coldly. You're just a tier 6 array manipulator. We've already killed an array manipulator at your level. You won't be able to do anything. You'll die just the same. The Green Snake King's expression was cold. With a wave of his hand, more bloodlines appeared in the surrounding space. Rumble! A mighty aura of destruction pressed down, and a bloodthirsty power surged. It was shocking. The fluctuations caused the cultivators to be shocked. It was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to destroy all living things. Lin Tian snorted. Don't compare me to an ordinary tier 6 array manipulator. With a shift of his mind, more formation runes appeared in the void, covering the entire space. The blood runes that were rushing towards him were once again repelled. They were repelled again. Many cultivators were shocked. The blood tattoos summoned by the four overlords of the oceanic region were extremely horrifying. However, they were blocked by Lin Tian twice in a row. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. Were you using your left hand to inscribe formation patterns? Lin Tian smiled at her, declining to comment. From the very beginning, he had seen cultivators' blood disappear into the ground, and he had felt that it was a little strange. Later, he found the corpse of a 6th-order array manipulator among the Yin soldiers. His sea of consciousness had not been completely extinguished. He used the yin-yang lotus sea to spy on him and saw many things in his body, including the matter of the 4 hegemons of the sea domain plotting against the Sea King's palace. Because he had fused with the soul force and remnant spiritual sense of the 6th-order array manipulator, he knew everything. Strands of formation runes manifested and circled around him and Bai Qiu, protecting everything. The 4 demon kings of the sea tried to use the bloodlines to suppress Lin Tian, but it was useless. The Green Snake King's eyes were cold. Lin Tian's method surprised him. The bloodlines that the 4 demon kings used together to activate were completely blocked by a human in the levitation realm. However, the surprise only lasted for a moment. Soon, the Demon King recovered and said coldly, "You have some tricks up your sleeve. Unfortunately, you can only passively defend. Death is only a matter of time." "Is that so?" Lin Tianling smiled and stood still. The Flaming Crocodile King said coldly, The blood-sucking formation has already sealed the surroundings. He can't escape. Let's refine the others first. It doesn't matter if we don't have the two of them. We can still break into the Great Path. Then we can kill him and take the stilling water pearl. From their point of view, Lin Tianji could only passively defend, which didn't affect their plan. When they used the blood-sucking formation to refine everyone in Sea King's palace, it would be easy for them to crush Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. Do it! After the four finished their discussion, the bloodlines in Sea King's palace surged and pressed toward the others. In the blink of an eye, screams and screams were heard. Many cultivators were turned into blood mists by the bloodlines. Good, good, good. I can feel my power increasing. Green Snake King laughed and looked around. Strands of blood light rushed into the bodies of the four people from all directions, causing their auras to rise. Lin Tian stood still and looked at the four people quietly. He didn't care at all, but there was a cold smile on his face. Again, the four demon kings roared. The bloodline spread. At this moment, the four of them looked coldly at Lin Tianyi. The bloodlines pressed down on the strongest people in the place. At the same time, they enveloped the desolate demon king physique, Yang Qi, and the three middle-aged men in the immortal connecting realm. The bloodlines were so terrifying that the void distorted. Boom! 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 Several strong auras rushed out. The desolate demon king physique and the others resisted with all their strength, each using their own powerful techniques. The desolate demon king physique appeared in the desolate heaven world. Yang Qi summoned the vision in his sea of consciousness. The other three middle-aged men used their divine abilities to fight back. Very good. Vigorous blood, energy, and vigorous origin. The four demon kings' eyes lit up as they looked at the desolate demon king physique and Yang Qi. Especially the two of you. Very good. Very good. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the bloodlines surged and became stronger. The bloodlines were already terrifying. Now that the four demon kings were working together, ordinary methods couldn't resist at all. Lin Tian flicked his left hand and silver light flashed, covering Yang Qi and isolating him from the bloodlines. Yang Qi felt his body relax as he stared at Lin Tian. You're welcome. Lin Tiandao. Yang Qi was a taciturn person. He didn't say much and just stood there quietly. Human. The eyes of the Green Snake King and the rest shone with a cold light as they stared at Lin Tian. Killing light flickered in their eyes. Lin Tian used the mysterious formation to protect Yang Qi. Even if they worked together to activate the bloodlines, they couldn't do much. You're not an ordinary sixth-order array manipulator. Who are you? Abyss Destroyer said coldly. Lin Tian's formation was too mysterious and tyrannical. He was actually able to remain unharmed in the blood-devouring formation that the four of them worked together to activate. Moreover, he still had the energy to protect the others. This made the four of them even more shocked, and they all frowned. For the four of them, Lin Tian had become a variable at this time. You guys continue. Lin Tiandao. His expression was calm as he stared at the four demon kings calmly. His attitude made the four overlords of the sea unhappy. Their eyes turned cold. You'll die, Green Snake King said. I'll wait for you to kill me. He smiled faintly. The four overlords of the sea had cold eyes. Then, the bloodlines moved and enveloped the others. Screams echoed in an instant. It was very ear-piercing. Young friend Lin, please help us, someone said. Lin Tian turned his head and saw the three middle-aged men in the Immortal Ascension realm looking at him expectantly. Help you? Sure. He smiled faintly. As soon as he finished speaking, silver lines flickered beside the three of them. The three of them were overjoyed. Thank you, young friend. Many bang. The silver formation shook and a powerful force sent the three of them flying toward the place where the blood lines were densest. The three of them suddenly turned pale. At this moment, they were sent flying by Lin Tian's silver runes. When they landed in the dense blood runes, they immediately felt a power that could corrode all things. In the blink of an eye, streaks of bloody marks appeared on their bodies, becoming tattered and tattered. "You're welcome, Lin Tiandao." The three of them attacked him with killing intent when he was heading toward the purple crystal coffin, but now they were asking him for help. He was not that magnanimous. How could he lend a helping hand to those who wanted to kill him and send them on their way? "You ah!" The three of them screamed. The bloodline surged over and covered them, seizing their origin blood essence. In the blink of an eye, the three of them quickly withered, and all their blood essence rushed toward the four demon kings. Puff! 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 After a few more breaths, the three of them exploded into a cloud of blood-colored dust. The four demon kings' auras were even more powerful. Clearly, after absorbing the origin blood essence of the three immortal Ascension realm powerhouses, their strength had increased by quite a bit. "Human, thank you for pulling them out. It's really difficult for the bloodlines to enter the formation outside the coffin." The Green Snake King laughed loudly. The formation outside the coffin was a little troublesome. 108 pillars surrounded the coffin. Even with the four of them working together, it was difficult to push in too many bloodlines. It would take a lot of energy to refine the three immortal Ascension realm powerhouses. But now Lin Tian had pulled the three of them out of the formation, which saved them a lot of trouble and saved them a lot of time. "Don't be in a hurry to thank me. You'll hate me very soon." Chapter 429. The Abyss-Destroying King and the others' expressions darkened. They felt uncomfortable listening to Lin Tian's words. "Human, don't pretend to be profound," one of them said coldly. Lin Tianan smiled and didn't respond. Only the silver formation surrounded him and Bai Qiu. He looked at Pitsong and said to the four overlords, "This is the desolate demon king physique of the demons. I'm sure you've heard of it. Refining the origin blood essence of the king physique will bring you unimaginable benefits." Pitsong's expression turned cold, and two rays of cold light shot out of his eyes. Desolate demon physique. The four king physiques stared at Pitsong. At their level, they naturally knew about the desolate demon king physique. For a moment, the eyes of the four people lit up. "Refine him," the flame crocodile king said. In an instant, the blood patterns surged like the rolling sea. Lin Tianyi smiled and attacked again. The silver formation appeared beside the desolate demon physique and crashed toward it. Lin Tian's, Pitsong's eyes were full of cold light. "You're welcome, Lin Tiandao." He had never shown mercy to his enemies. If he could kill them, he would. Pitsong brought out the barren heaven world, blocking Lin Tian's silver matrix runes. However, in the next moment, the blood runes around him surged as well. With a bang, he was sent flying, escaping the range of the matrix outside the purple crystal coffin. "Refine him." With a boom, the four overlords of the sea joined forces. Blood patterns surged crazily toward Pitsong. This kind of power was terrifying. Even an immortal-reaching realm expert would find it difficult to resist. "You're so ruthless." Just now, Lin Tian had already killed 3 immortal-reaching realm experts. Now that he had sent the desolate demon physique away, Bai Qiu shrank his neck. After a pause, she said, "However, the desolate demon physique shouldn't die so easily. Mount Tianyao must have left many life-saving methods on him. After all, he's a king physique." "I know." Lin Tian nodded. There was no need for Bai Qiu to say anything about this. He knew it very well. "Then why did you?" Bai Qiu was surprised. "I'm just buying some time." Lin Tian transmitted his voice. His left hand was hidden in his sleeve. His 5 fingers moved at the same time. Imprints appeared one after another and disappeared into the void. Boom! Up ahead, blood patterns flickered, roiling about, turning into an angry dragon as it rushed towards the desolate monster body. For a moment, Pitsong seemed to be in a sorry state. His hair was disheveled, and his immortal artifacts were sent flying several times. "A futile struggle," the 4 from the sea region said coldly. The 4 of them each stood in a corner of the Sea King's palace and worked together to activate the devouring blood array, covering the entire Sea King's palace. This grand formation had sealed off the entire Sea King's palace. Blood runes were everywhere, making it impossible to escape. Rumble! The blood tattoos rolled like waves, suppressing Pokang. Bang! Putsong used his immortal artifact to defend himself, but he was immediately swept away. Demonic blood splattered in the void. In the desolate heaven realm, the phenomenon in the Sea of Consciousness, the god-slaying palm, and various other methods were used by Putsong to resist the blood tattoos. Lin Tian looked over, his eyes narrowing. Putsong was really terrifying. Just now, the three immortal ascension cultivators were refined by the blood tattoos in the blink of an eye. But now, Putsong was continuously resisting the blood tattoos and holding on. Very good, Lord Piyama said. I was right to let you go earlier. You've exceeded my expectations. Put in more effort, another person said. Instantly, the blood tattoos became denser, surging towards Putsong like a vast sea. Boom! The blood tattoos were like dragons. Together with the power of the four overlords of the sea region, they forced Putsong to retreat again and again. His immortal artifact cracked. That's enough, Lord Piyama said. With a boom, all the blood tattoos around Putsong pressed down together. Many cultivators trembled at the sight of this. It's over, someone muttered. How could they resist such a blood tattoo formation? It was impossible. Lin Tian stared over there, Yang Qi stared over there, and Bai Qiu also stared over there. They did not move at all. You want to kill me? You're not strong enough, Putsong roared. With a boom, a broken lamp rushed out from the top of his head. The wick of the lamp shone with divine fire, and an extremely terrifying wave of energy overflowed. A broken Dao weapon? Someone exclaimed. Lin Tian's eyes shot out two rays of light as he stared straight at the desolate demon physique. He was not surprised by this scene. Boom! As soon as the broken lamp appeared, the entire space shook, and all the blood tattoos were instantly blasted away. The four overlords of the sea region were shocked at the same time, and their eyes shone with cold light. So what if he has such a precious weapon? It's just a broken one. It's not very useful. It's only a matter of time before it's suppressed. Crush him, the four of them said. The blood tattoos were even more shocking. They fell like an immortal river. Putsong roared. He used the essence of the desolate demon physique to activate the broken lamp. It erupted with a terrifying might and directly pierced through the blood tattoos. Open for me! With a boom, the broken lamp flew up, forcefully creating a gap in the blood-devouring grand formation. The four overlords of the sea region immediately changed their expressions. Stop him! The four of them controlled the grand formation. Endless blood tattoos surged up, wanting to block the gap. The desolate demon physique did not hesitate. It glanced at Lin Tian coldly and directly turned into a ray of demonic light and rushed out. Although it had always been arrogant, it was not stupid. It was surrounded by four demon kings at the peak of the connecting immortal realm. Facing such a combination, even if it had an incomplete Dao soldier, it was impossible to resist the four of them. Leaving was the best choice. With a whoosh, it turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the distance. Damn it! The four overlords of the sea region were furious. The loss of such a king physique escaping could be said to be great. Block the gap first, one of them said. Someone was escaping through the gap. The Green Snake King was furious. The blood tattoos flashed, and the person who wanted to escape through the gap immediately screamed and exploded. Lin Tian, let's go too, Bai Qiu said. There's no rush. The four overlords of the sea region have a lot of good things on them. Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu glared at him. What are you thinking about at this time? Little girl, be quiet. Lin Tian rubbed her head. Not far away. Yang Qi frowned. He looked at Lin Tian and then at the four overlords of the sea region. The four overlords of the sea region had cold eyes. The desolate demon physique had escaped, which made them very unhappy. Instantly, a bloody mist exploded in the hall. Human, it's your turn, the Flame Crocodile King said. In the process just now, they had absorbed a lot of essence blood, and their strength had increased by a lot. As the four of them finished speaking, the blood tattoos in the space became even more terrifying. They were twice as strong as before. What a coincidence. I'm almost done here. Lin Tiandao. Rumbling sounds could be heard. With a single thought, silver spell tattoos appeared in every corner of the space. They were like indestructible divine swords that emitted the clanging of weapons. A moment later, the silver spell tattoos began to move. They gathered together, transforming into 99 furious dragons that let out shocking dragon roars. The blood-devouring grand formation trembled violently, and ripples spread out like water. The four overlords of the sea region were shocked. They could feel the blood-devouring grand formation shaking. Lin Tianling smiled. He raised his left hand and flicked his fingers. Instantly, more silver tattoos appeared. Some were defensive, some were offensive, and some were defensive. Did you really think you could fool everyone? Don't be so naive. We knew what you were up to and prepared a big gift for you. He had started by inscribing defensive spell tattoos. Then, he had used the three immortal connecting experts and the desolate demon physique to buy time to inscribe offensive spell tattoos. Roar! The dragon roared. Lin Tianling used the defensive spell tattoos to resist the blood tattoos. He used the 99 furious dragons to attack. Of course, he didn't use these to attack the four overlords. Instead, he urged the 99 furious dragons to charge in all directions. There were blood-devouring grand formation seals in every corner of these places. He used the Heavenly One-Soul technique and used the 99 furious dragons as the foundation to directly destroy the blood-devouring grand formation spell tattoos. Chi! 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 With a soft sound, cracks appeared outside the blood-devouring grand formation. The four overlords of the sea region were shocked. The blood-devouring grand formation that they had hired a 6th-grade array controller to set up was destroyed. Damn it! The four of them roared in unison. The other cultivators were overjoyed. For a moment, they all fled in panic. The Green Snake King and the others flicked their sleeves in anger and stepped into the Sea King's palace. Human, how dare you set us up? The four of them had cold eyes. Originally, they were the ones who came up with the plan to refine a group of cultivators to improve themselves. However, they did not expect that everything that the four of them had set up would be destroyed by a mere cultivator in the airborne realm. This made them very angry. I set you up? Lin Tianyi smiled and said, it's just a little resistance. Don't argue with him. Just take him down. Your killing tattoos can only destroy the blood-devouring grand formation spell tattoos. They can't threaten us. You won't be able to die even if you want to. The four of them pressed forward step by step. Bai Qiu was moved. She immediately activated the Bai family's divine ability. She didn't dare to be careless in the face of four peak immortal ascension experts. Clang! Yang Qi didn't leave. He summoned the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness and aimed it at the four of them. Lin Tianyi smiled and said, don't worry so much. I alone am enough. With that, he took a step forward, and a pearl appeared in his right hand. Stilling water pearl. The four overlords of the sea were shocked. Lin Tian said, after the blood-devouring grand formation sealed the area, the stilling water pearl couldn't sense the water outside. However, it's different now. As soon as he finished speaking, he poured his true energy into the stilling water pearl. Instantly, the Sea King's palace trembled. In the blink of an eye, raging waves rose from all directions. They were hundreds of meters tall. Boom! The unparalleled waves sealed the area, containing endless destructive power, and cast a large shadow. Bai Qiu looked up and stared at the waves with her eyes wide open. Even Yang Qi, who was standing off to the side, was moved. Such a scene was simply a miracle of nature. The four overlords of the sea were shocked. They stopped in their tracks and forced Lin Tian to stop. They were all sea demons. Naturally, they could feel the terrifying power of the waves. It was very shocking. Next, it's my turn. Lin Tian stared at the four and narrowed his eyes. Since you've cultivated to such a high level, you must have a good foundation. Hand over all the treasures you have. Otherwise, I'll drown you. By the way, you're all overlords of the sea. If you drown in the sea, it will definitely become a legend in the history of cultivation. Chapter 430. The expressions of the four overlords of the sea were very ugly. They were existences at the peak of the immortal ascension realm, but now they were threatened and blackmailed by an airborne realm cultivator. You are courting death, the Green Snake King said coldly. The four monster kings stood side by side, their divine powers surging toward the surroundings. So, what if you have the stilling water pearl? Your cultivation is too low. After all, you are only in the airborne realm, more than 10 levels lower than us. With such a cultivation, how much of the stilling water pearl's power can you activate? Do you really think you can compete with us? The Flame Crocodile King said coldly. Boom, 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 boom. Four waves of demonic power surged, rolling and extremely powerful. The four monster kings felt the destructive aura contained in the waves around them. At first, they were a little surprised, but they quickly recovered and calmed down. They were all at the peak of the immortal ascension realm, only one step away from the Great Path realm. With four such powerful monster kings together, they were not afraid of Lin Tian, who had the stilling water pearl. Is that so? Lin Tianling smiled. Do you think I only have the stilling water pearl? Looking at the four monster kings, he had a half smile on his face. The four monster kings' eyes were cold, and they were very unhappy with Lin Tian's expression. Stop pretending, the king of the underworld said coldly. The abyss-destroying king said coldly. In the next moment, he trembled and his expression changed. At the same time, next to the king of the underworld, the other three monster kings trembled and suddenly felt waves of pain in their bodies. What did you do? The four of them stared at Lin Tian at the same time. At this time, the four of them knew that the pain in their bodies was definitely related to the human in front of them. Lin Tianyi smiled and took a step forward. Didn't I say that you will hate me soon? Previously, when he used the silver array pattern to push the three middle-aged immortal ascension realm cultivators out of the formation, he inserted the chaotic god pattern into their bodies. This kind of array pattern was similar to the energy sealing pill, which could interfere with divine power and even temporarily suppress cultivation. The four monster kings absorbed the flesh and blood essence of the three people, including the chaotic god pattern. At this moment, the chaotic god pattern was activated. The four of them were shocked and thought for a while. You did something to the three of them, King Breach said coldly. You're right. Unfortunately, there's no prize. Lin Tian smiled. He took a step forward, and with every step he took, a silver rune appeared in the void and intertwined around him. This formation pattern, 100 Zhong Wave, this Lin Tian, is he a monster? He even knows how to carve formations? Many people felt their hearts palpitate. Bai Qiu stared at Lin Tian with wide eyes. All of this was a little inconceivable. The four overlords of the sea region were pressuring and setting up this trap. It was supposed to be a desperate situation, but who would have thought that Lin Tianyi had long known about it and easily disintegrated everything? Moreover, at this moment, he was actually suppressing the four overlords. This guy knows everything, but he won't tell me. She gritted her teeth angrily. Off to the side, Yang Qi's eyes glittered with surprise. However, this man was not ordinary after all. After a slight change in expression, he once again returned to his original state. On the battlefield, Lin Tian glanced at the Sea King's palace. With a thought, the waves that sealed the four sides automatically broke open a door. Those who have nothing to do with this, get out of here, he said. Hearing his words, many of the cultivators were shocked, but then they were all overjoyed. They thanked him and fled outside. The sound of the air breaking rang out. Green Snake King and the other three moved and rushed towards the door Lin Tian opened. Lin Tian had already laid down countless runes in this place, and their bodies were also in intense pain. It would be impossible for them to recover in a short period of time. At this time, they did not want to stay here, as there was absolutely no benefit to them. With a hong sound, a light dragon appeared. It was completely formed from silver formation patterns, and it rushed towards the four people. Who said you could leave? Lin Tian stood in front of them. The four overlords of the sea region stared at Lin Tian. The coldness in their eyes grew stronger, and their killing intent was overflowing. Then we'll kill you directly, Green Snake King said. With a boom, rolling demonic aura surged. Streaks of gray mist swept out in all directions. The momentum was incomparably vast. Flaming Crocodile King and the others naturally moved as well. Each of them displayed their supernatural powers and secret techniques, and dense demonic shadows appeared. After all, they were powerful existences at the peak of the immortal ascension realm. Although they knew that the current situation was very unfavorable to them, seeing Lin Tian's powerful stance, they were furious. They directly attacked Lin Tian. In an instant, destructive demonic light pressed down. It was shocking. The chaotic divine pattern has entered your body. Now you can only use 80% of your peak combat strength. You want to fight me with that? Lin Tiantan said coldly. He activated the Tianyi Soul technique. With a thought, more silver patterns lit up in the void. The waves sealed the surroundings. Heaven and earth spirit chi surged, passing through the silver patterns and turning into rays of killing light that cut through the void. Looking at this scene, the four demon kings felt a trace of threat again. This is my first time engraving a killing formation. I'm not proficient enough. Lin Tiandao. As soon as he finished speaking, dense rays of killing light shot toward the four demon kings. Each ray of killing light was terrifying. Clanging sounds could be heard. The silver rays of killing light were like immortal sword rays that slashed in all directions. Chi. The Green Snake King used a supernatural power, but there were too many rays of killing light. Instantly, his supernatural power was cut into pieces. A dragon roared. A huge silver dragon rushed over. It looked very real. It opened its mouth and bit down. Buzz! Silver rays intertwined in all directions, like a bird flapping its wings. Looking around, in this void, every inch of space was filled with silver patterns. These silver patterns were getting brighter and brighter. They were vibrating on their own. Every time they vibrated, silver rays of killing light would appear. This was a killing formation. Damn it! Flaming Crocodile King gritted his teeth. The silver patterns pressed down on the surroundings, exuding a shocking killing intent. It caused the space to distort uncontrollably. At the same time, the chaotic divine pattern in their bodies could not be refined in a short time. It constantly interfered with their divine power, making it difficult for them to use their peak combat strength. Leave through the air. He set up a killing formation here. If we leave, he won't be able to do anything to us. Let's go. The four of them shot up into the air. The waves were 300 meters tall, but for existences at their level, this was nothing. Lin Tian looked up and smiled coldly. He held the stilling water bead in his hand, and with a thought, the surrounding waves suddenly surged and gathered together, pressing down on the four of them. The destructive aura of the water-steadying pearl was obvious. Instantly, the four demon kings' faces fell as the waves slammed into them, sending them tumbling down to the ground. Beautiful! Bai Qiu couldn't help but exclaim. Yang Qi stood off to the side, looking at the waves and the four demon kings. His eyes shone brightly. The Green Snake King and the others were in bad shape. After being hit by the waves, blood oozed out of their mouths. What do you think? Lin Tian said, striding toward the four demon kings. He had already set up numerous killing patterns in the void. With the water-steadying pearl in hand, he didn't fear the four demon kings at all. Human. The four demon kings' faces were cold. Lin Tian stepped forward and said calmly, hand over your trump cards, and I won't kill you. Otherwise, you know what will happen. You're strong, but you can't stop me now. The four demon kings stared at Lin Tian, gritting their teeth. Their faces were unsightly because Lin Tian was telling the truth. They were originally at the peak of the immortal ascension realm, But now, the Chaos God glyphs made it so that they couldn't even use 80% of their battle prowess. With the killing patterns in the void and the water-steadying pearl, the gap between Lin Tian and them was shortened. Now, even if the four of them worked together, they wouldn't be a match for Lin Tian. Despicable human, the Green Snake King said coldly. Lin Tian tilted his head, and with a thought, a silver killing mark flashed. With a bang, the Green Snake King was sent flying. Do you have the right to say that? He said coldly. The Green Snake King's face turned red, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He couldn't help but roar. Boom! With it as the center, waves of bloody light spread out. Then, it turned into a giant python that was 100 feet long, ferocious and threatening. This was the Green Snake King's true form. At this moment, it revealed its true form, and the aura around its body became violent. What a huge snake! Baichio was shocked. The Green Snake King's true form was 100 feet long and covered in green scales. It was surrounded by a shocking chill and bloody aura. It let out a loud roar and spat out poisonous substances. It looked very fierce. Let's go, the Flaming Crocodile King said. With 3 roars, the Flaming Crocodile King and the other 2 also revealed their true forms. In an instant, 4 ferocious beasts stood in this space. Their eyes were either blood red or demonic green, and they all had a terrifying aura. They all pounced toward Lin Tian. Humph! Lin Tian lungs snorted. With a thought, the silver formation runes in the void emitted an even brighter light. Rays of killing light closed in from all directions. It was unknown how many times more terrifying it was than before. It cut through the void and enveloped every inch of the space around it. Poof! 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 The 4 monster kings revealed their true forms. Their aura was stronger, but they also had more targets. For a moment, beams of killing light fell, leaving bloody wounds on their bodies. In many places, even the eerie white bones were exposed. Roar! The 4 silver dragons formed by the formation rushed up and swung their tails. Bang! 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 The 4 of them were sent flying 100 feet away. The 4 of them returned to their human forms. Their bodies were full of wounds, and they were all coughing up blood. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and said, Are you satisfied? Now, can you hand over the treasures you collected? The 4 monster kings' faces were pale. They were extremely angry. What? Are you unwilling? Lin Tianyi smiled. In the next moment, the smile on his face disappeared. He moved his hands, and more silver formation runes rushed up. Then, the stilling water pearl trembled. Endless water surged and combined with the light of the killing formation, turning into a dense mass of ice swords. Clang! 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 The piercing sound of the swords rang out, and the temperature of the entire space dropped by more than 10 degrees. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't hand over the treasures that satisfy me after 3 breaths of time, you will bear the consequences. Chapter 431. Dense ice swords were placed in all directions. They were formed by the killing mark and the water-stopping bead's ability to control water. Their power was truly terrifying. These ice swords filled every corner of this space, completely sealing off the 4 demon kings. Pinbook netbook. The tips of the ice swords were all aimed at the 4 of them, flashing with a cold light that made one's heart palpitate. Staring at Lin Tian, the 4 of them were all trembling. As powerful as they were, they naturally felt the terror of this aura. At this moment, they were trapped in the middle and had no chance to escape. If they made any movements, their bodies would be pierced by the dense ice swords. Lin Tian stared at the 4 of them. I'll start the countdown. 3. Hearing this, the 4 of them trembled. 2. Clang. As his voice rang out, thousands of dense ice swords clanged, and the killing light became even more powerful. In this space, he had carved dense killing patterns. These killing patterns were not too advanced, just the most basic killing patterns of the formation control technique. Even so, these killing patterns could automatically absorb the spirit chi in the air and convert it into killing light. At this moment, as time passed, the killing light around them became even more powerful. Wait! The Golden Frog King shouted. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. Have you decided? He stood with his hands behind his back. Killing light intertwined around him, completely enveloping the 4 monster kings of the sea region. This aura made the heavily injured 4 great monster kings feel a sense of powerlessness. Whoopee! The Green Snake King gritted his teeth. They were very strong, comparable to the peak of the connecting immortal realm, but now that the chaotic divine patterns had entered their bodies, the divine power in their bodies could not flow smoothly. Lin Tian relied on the water-stopping pearl to close the distance between them, and with the dense killing patterns all around, he could exhaust them to death. Facing such a situation, they had no choice but to give in. That's right. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. The abyss-breaking king's expression was terrible. He raised his hand and swept out a large amount of immortal light. Bowed in, immortal herbs, weapons, everything. Among them, there were close to 100 4th-grade bowed in and many upper-grade supreme treasures. There were also a shocking number of immortal herbs. Most importantly, there was a 5th-grade bowed in, which immediately attracted Lin Tian's attention. This is refining a true Dan. His eyes shone brightly. As an alchemist, and a Tier 4 alchemist at that, he naturally knew that things like true energy pills were extremely precious. They were treasured medicines that could be used to temper one's true energy. Such a true chi refining pill, when used on a Zephyr Realm cultivator, could help the Zephyr Realm cultivator refine their true chi to an astonishing degree in a short period of time, and then increase their cultivation by a large margin. Relying on this bowed in, I can reach the peak of Zephyr Realm 3rd layer within a day, and even possibly reach the 4th layer. He thought to himself. With a wave of his hand, he put everything away. Seeing Lin Tian put everything away, Abyss Breaker King clenched his fists with a pained expression. These things were the wealth that he had painstakingly accumulated for more than 300 years. But now, they were all taken away in one day. Lin Tian glanced at Abyss Breaker, then looked at Green Snake King and the other 2. It's your turn. Green Snake King and the other 2 gritted their teeth, and their expressions were extremely ugly. However, there was nothing they could do. The 3 of them raised their hands one after another, sweeping out a large amount of light. The bowed-in treasures and other rare treasures were almost piled up into a small hill. Lin Tian roughly estimated that there were hundreds of upper-grade supreme treasures, countless 4th-grade bowed-in, and a shocking variety of immortal herbs. Moreover, he saw many ancient scriptures among them. Although they were not the best, they were not bad either. If he took them out, he would definitely be able to sell them for a good price. Lin Tian was very satisfied. Among them, the hundreds of upper-grade supreme treasures solved the problem of needing more weapons for the weapon control art. The true alchemy elixir was also extremely precious. After leaving the sea region, he only needed to find a quiet place to break through to the 4th heaven of the Zephyr realm in a short time. At that time, his combat power would definitely be on another level. Suddenly, his eyes moved slightly and landed on a sheepskin scroll. This sheepskin scroll was very ordinary, but there were many things engraved on it. They were crooked, as if it was a drawing of a chain of mountains. Staring at the sheepskin scroll, Lin Tian was slightly surprised. Back then, he had comprehended a trace of the great path of nature. Now, on this sheepskin scroll, he actually felt the fluctuation of the path. One had to know that the fluctuation of the path could only be felt by at least a great path elite. In other words, this sheepskin scroll was at least from the hands of a great path elite. What is this? Lin Tian looked at the Flaming Crocodile King. He remembered that this was taken by the Flaming Crocodile King. The Flaming Crocodile King glanced at the sheepskin scroll. A map. As for the exact location of the engravings, I don't know. It had obtained this sheepskin scroll by chance for many years. It could not be broken by blades or melted by fire. After studying it for so many years, it could only conclude that this should be a map. As for the terrain, it had no idea where it was located. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and stared at the sheepskin scroll. From the direction of the strokes on the sheepskin scroll, it did look like a map. He stared at the sheepskin scroll and seriously thought back. He realized that this terrain did not exist in the first and second heavens. The mountains on this scroll are in the upper heavens? Also, what is in the mountains on this ancient scroll? He frowned slightly. An ancient scroll map that came from at least a great path elite. He did not think that there was no mystery behind it. The most likely possibility was that the location on the ancient scroll had to be something extraordinary. After thinking for a while, he carefully put away the ancient scroll. He planned to take some time out to study it properly in the future. At the same time, he waved his hand and collected all the treasures. "You can let us leave now, right?" the Abyss Destroyer King said in a deep voice. The four of them clenched their fists. Their expressions were very ugly, and killing intent intertwined in the depths of their eyes. Lin Tian raised his head and looked at the four of them. The corners of his mouth curled up. "Of course," he said. As soon as he finished speaking, a sonorous sound rang out. Dense ice swords vibrated and slashed towards the four great monster kings. With a cracking sound, the void shattered on the spot, and large cracks appeared. "You tricked us!" The four of them were furious. "This guy." In the distance, Bai Qiu stared. He did not expect Lin Tian to attack the four great monster kings directly after extorting all of their treasures. He showed no mercy. A light flashed in Yang Qi's eyes, but he quickly hid it. In the field, Lin Tianling smiled. He raised his right hand, and more killing light pressed down. Childish. Staring at the four great monster kings, he only said 2 words. All of a sudden, even more killing lights surged up, covering the 4 people under it. The 4 of them had planned this. They wanted to refine everyone and turn them into medicine. They wanted to kill them. Now, how could he let them go? Moreover, he could imagine that once he let the 4 of them go now, they would definitely turn to kill him when they were free. Moreover, all 4 of them were experts at the peak of the immortal connecting realm, and they might even step into the great path at any time. If that really happened, then it would undoubtedly be a disaster for him and his friends. He wasn't that stupid. Boom! 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 Dozens of killing lights rushed out from behind him and pressed down on the Green Snake King and the others. Humu! Poof! The Flaming Crocodile King was enraged. In an instant, he was hit by one of the killing lights and was sent flying more than 10 feet away. At the same time, the other 3 great monster kings were also in great trouble. They were sent flying by the killing lights and pierced by the ice swords. In an instant, the Sea King's palace was stained with blood. In just a short moment, the 4 great monster kings had suffered unimaginable injuries. Damn it! The 4 great monster kings were both shocked and furious. They had planned this and lured many cultivators in to refine a cauldron of medicine to help them break through to the great Tao realm. They did not expect that they would be tricked here by a human at the Zephyr realm. After sealing them in the Sea King's palace and extorting all their treasures, he actually wanted to kill them now. Umph! Lin Tianling laughed. He moved his hands together and supported the steadying water pearl. The entire sea was boiling. Rumble! With this large island as the center, waves surged in all directions, turning into astonishing dragons. The dragons roared, letting out a substantial roar that shook the sky. That is, heavens, this scene, this, who did this? In the sea, many creatures saw this scene, and their hearts trembled. As far as the eye could see, a total of 108 dragons rushed up. They were completely condensed from water and streaked across the void, appearing above the Sea King's palace. Boom! The dragons roared and rushed down angrily. The Green Snake King and the others also roared and attacked at the same time, activating their respective mystical abilities and facing the dragons. With your current injured state, you can't even use 50% of your divine power. What else can you do? Lin Tianling laughed. His hands moved quickly, and the Heavenly One Soul art circulated, guiding the chaotic divine patterns in their bodies. Instantly, the four of them trembled and vomited blood at the same time. He used the heavenly one-soul mantra to draw in the power of the chaotic divine glyphs. Not only did it cut off the flow of the four people's divine power for a short period of time, it also attacked their internal organs, causing them to suffer heavy injuries. It was also at this moment that dozens of water dragons descended. No! The Green Snake King was the closest, and his expression instantly changed. Lin Tianling was expressionless. He used both hands to guide the dozens of dragons to press down together. Pooh! The dragon's roars shook the soul. The Green Snake King was crushed on the spot, his body and soul destroyed. The Flaming Crocodile King and the others were terrified. One of their companions, who was at the peak of the connecting immortal realm, died just like that. At this moment, the three of them stared at Lin Tianling. There was anger and hatred in their eyes, but there was also fear. Roar! A loud roar rang out, and the seawater blocked the surroundings. In the sky, dozens of dragons pressed down again. The Golden Frog King was the first to bear the brunt and was directly smashed into pieces. This guy, in the distance, Bai Qiu shrank his neck. He felt that Lin Tianling was too ferocious. Two overlords of the sea that were comparable to peak connecting immortals were killed just like that. Lin Tianling tilted his head and stared at the last two overlords of the sea. He directly activated the water-stilling pearl and absorbed thousands of water sources to suppress them. The water-stilling pearl's ability to control water was very terrifying, but it also consumed a lot of true essence. At this moment, he had already used 60% of his true essence, so at this moment, he didn't want to say anything to the other party. He only wanted to get rid of the last two powerful enemies in the shortest time possible. He definitely couldn't let the two of them leave this place alive. Otherwise, there would be trouble in the future. With a boom, dozens of dragons pressed down, covering all directions. Squeak! Chapter 432. This soft sound was too ear-piercing, causing Lin Tian to immediately stop attacking and look behind him. A book? W? WW? 1? K? N? SH? U? CC. At the same time, the Infernal Destruction King and the Flame Crocodile King's expressions changed. Crack! The purple crystal coffin broke open. Light and blood energy surged, and a pitch-black aura of death gushed out. The aura of death split into dozens of streams, most of which shot toward Bai Qiu. Lin Tian seemed to realize something, and his expression changed. Retreat! He shouted as he rushed toward Bai Qiu. The dense aura of death enveloped Bai Qiu, and it was even more terrifying than the water dragon summoned by the water-steadying pearl. Bai Qiu's expression changed, but the aura of death was too fast for her to block. Clang! Yang Qi stepped forward, unleashing his saber mountain and sea of consciousness manifestation to defend Bai Qiu. Crack! 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 The sabers shattered one by one, and Yang Qi was sent flying backward, blood oozing out of his mouth. Bai Qiu was surprised and didn't understand why Yang Qi had saved her. However, when she saw Lin Tian rushing toward her, she understood. Lin Tian arrived in a flash and appeared among the 108 stone pillars. Many thanks, he said to Yang Qi. Bai Qiu was his best friend in this heaven, and also his only friend. If the aura of death had hit Bai Qiu directly, she would have been severely injured. Yang Qi had stepped in to protect Bai Qiu, and Lin Tian was very grateful. He knew that Yang Qi had saved Bai Qiu because of him. Yang Qi didn't say anything. He was a man of few words. Boom! A black light pierced through the clouds, and from the surface of the Sea King's palace, streaks of blood-red light rushed toward the violet crystal coffin. There were many streaks of blood-red light, and some of them were even black, which belonged to the Yin soldiers. However, that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that there were other streaks of light that were faint silver in color. Soul fluctuations? Lin Tian's expression changed. The blood-red light rushed into the violet crystal coffin, and the aura of death grew stronger. "Want to see? Book 1 Ka?" See, as far as the eye could see, the purple crystal coffin had already exploded. A withered figure stood there. In the bloody light, a pair of incomparably demonic eyes lit up. Just one look was enough to make one's hair stand on end. "Alive, alive?" Bai Qiu shrunk his neck. Yang Qi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and for the first time, a very serious expression appeared on his face. Further away, the flaming crocodile king and the abyss-destroying king trembled as they stared at the figure standing up amidst the bloody light. Back then, the Sea King, how is this possible? The two monster kings felt their hearts palpitate. At this moment, the figure that stood up was too terrifying. His aura was comparable to that of a cultivator of the Great Path. Lin Tian's face darkened. He waved his right hand and swept out a large expanse of silver light, temporarily breaking through the formation outside the coffin. "Let's go." Sending a message to Bai Qiu and Yang Qi, he sped away. The figure that stood up from the purple crystal coffin was too terrifying. It was much more powerful than the overlords of the sea region, difficult to face. How could that be? When we approached the crystal coffin earlier, it was clearly dead. There was nothing unusual about it. Bai Qiu was puzzled. "It wasn't just now, but it is now." Lin Tiandao. "What do you mean? Do you still remember that Ghost King? We ignored it just now, and it entered the corpse of the ancient Sea King." Lin Tiandao. "How can that be?" Bai Qiu's eyes widened. "It's essentially a Yin's spirit, a spiritual body. What's wrong with that? It's just exchanging a spiritual body for a corpse." Lin Tiandao. He pointed to the other side, where there was a withered corpse. It was the body of the Ghost King from before. At this moment, it was covered in cracks and lying motionless on the ground. It was already at the level of a Ghost King. Now that it has entered the corpse of a Great Path cultivator, isn't it even more terrifying? Much more terrifying. So many cultivators died in the Sea King Palace. Their blood chi, resentment, and soul power were all absorbed by the Ghost King, completing a considerable transformation. It's almost comparable to a Great Path cultivator. 1. Reading? 1. K. A. N. S. H. U. C. C. Lin Tian's expression was grave. He did not expect that the Ghost King would abandon its main body and enter the corpse of the ancient Sea King. Using the corpse of the ancient Sea King, it absorbed all the blood chi, death chi, and yin chi in the Sea King Palace. In this way, the power contained in the corpse was simply terrifying to the extreme. Roar! A roar rang out, shaking the sky. The ground of the Sea King Palace cracked inch by inch, and the cracks spread in all directions. At the same time, the water dragon summoned by Lin Tian with the water-steadying pearl exploded one by one, shattering under the violent death chi. The Ghost King entered the corpse of the ancient Sea King. At this moment, it took a step forward, and its body was surrounded by a black death chi, causing the surrounding space to crack. "Go leave," Lin Tian said in a low voice. At the same time, the flaming crocodile king and the abyss breaker king in the distance were also frightened and quickly fled. However, the two of them had just moved when the Ghost King controlled the corpse of the ancient Sea King to close in on them. Its hands grabbed the two of them at the same time. No! No! The two of them were terrified. They were already seriously injured, and now that their necks were grabbed, the thick death chi entered their bodies and solidified all the divine power in their bodies. Roar! The Ghost King roared and bit the neck of the flaming crocodile king. The flaming crocodile king screamed and turned into a dried corpse in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the abyss breaker king did not escape the same fate. In the blink of an eye, all the essence of his flesh and blood was sucked dry. In the distance, Bai Qiu watched this scene and shrunk his neck. "Let's go." Lin Tiandao. At this time, there was no time to think. It was difficult for them to resist such a terrifying existence. Roar! With another roar, the death chi on the Ghost King's body became stronger, and its blood-red eyes stared straight at Baichio. Its two blood-red eyes lit up, as if it had found some delicious prey, and it rushed over. Lin Tian looked back, and his expression changed. Damn it! He spat out a vulgar word. Obviously, the Ghost King, who had entered the corpse of the ancient Sea King, had sensed the origin of Yin in Baichio's body. The Ghost King was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it closed in. Its eerie ghost claws, which were surrounded by black ghost fog, reached out and grabbed at Baichio. Lin Tian gritted his teeth, and a dense array of silver runes appeared in the void. At this time, they were still within the range of the Sea King's palace. He had carved killing runes in the void. These killing runes might not be enough to deal with the Ghost King now, but it was good enough to slow it down and buy some time to escape. Crack! With a crisp sound, all the killing runes were shattered. Lin Tian was slightly shaken. He felt that his internal organs had shifted, and a fishy taste surged up. The Ghost King roared and moved even faster, closing in again. Wisps of death chi intertwined around it, making it look like a devil from hell. Boom! Lin Tian activated the water-stopping pearl, and thousands of water sources rushed up, turning into raging waves that flooded the Ghost King. However, the Ghost King, who had entered the corpse of the ancient Sea King, was too terrifying. With a simple swipe of its claws, it instantly shattered everything. Lin Tian retreated, coughing up blood, and his face turned pale. Just now, in the battle with the four overlords of the sea, he had been in the upper hand, but at that time, he had been using all his strength and had consumed a lot of his true essence. Now, he only had 20% of his true essence left, and it was difficult to activate the water-stopping pearl. I'll do it, Yang Qi said. With a clang, a wasteland appeared, with endless weapons stabbed into the ground, stretching across the sky. This was the vision of his sea of consciousness, and at this moment, it was pushed to the extreme. Each of the blades was like an immortal weapon, terrifying and terrifying. Whoosh! 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 The dense number of divine blades cut through the void, slashing at the Ghost King. Then, the three of them fled again. Roar! The Ghost King roared, directly shattered the endless blades, and chased after the three of them again. Lin Tian looked back and cursed inwardly. It seemed that the Ghost King had really sensed Baichio's origin of Yin. Who could have guessed that something like this would happen? He thought angrily. Roar! The Ghost King roared, and a sinister aura of death enveloped the three of them. Baichio gritted his teeth. He seemed to have sensed something as well. He no longer used the immortal artifact to conceal his origin. Instead, he summoned it directly and used this high-grade immortal artifact to activate the Bai family's Abhijna. He even used the lunar origin. In an instant, the Ghost King was sent flying. Clang! Boom! Yang Qi and Lin Tian attacked at the same time, unleashing powerful techniques that slammed into the Ghost King, sending it flying dozens of meters away. Let's go, Lin Tian said. After entering the corpse of the ancient Sea King, the Ghost King had become even more terrifying, and its aura was shocking to the extreme. The three of them shot up into the air, leaving Sea King's palace and heading off into the distance. Roar! With a ferocious roar, the Ghost King also rose into the air and charged towards the three. Lin Tian looked back, and his expression froze. The three of them had launched a barrage of attacks on the Ghost King, but they had failed to leave even a scratch on it. The corpse of a great Virtue Realm expert is still so sturdy after such a long time. Lin Tian cursed inwardly. There were already many cultivators watching this area. At this moment, their expressions changed when they saw this scene. What's that? In energy? It's so thick, that's... a corpse is flying? Many people stared. Gradually, more and more people noticed this scene, and they were all shocked. Lin Tian and the other two flew away, occasionally sweeping out large amounts of killing light to obstruct the Ghost King. However, this was not of much use. After entering the corpse of the ancient king of the sea region, the Ghost King was too much stronger. Even if Lin Tian brought out the complete Yin-Yang Lotus Sea, it was useless. The three of them fled together and soon appeared in the deepest part of the sea. Rumble. The waves in front of them were monstrous. From time to time, pillars of water would surge up, and huge whirlpools would appear on the surface of the sea. Don't go any further. It's very dangerous ahead. If we're not careful, we'll be swept into an unknown space. Bai Qiu was moved. She had read many ancient books about the sea and knew a lot. It's a pity that we have no way out. Lin Tian said. A ferocious roar came from behind. The Ghost King had entered the corpse of the ancient Sea King, and it was charging over with monstrous energy. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.